Imagine reincarnating into a world where all of society's roles are flipped. The men who were supposed to be providers were now homemakers, and women were the ones catcalling guys on the street. To make matters worse, our protagonist awakens in a rather hefty body. Can he become attractive enough to survive this jungle of wild women? This is the story of a chubby guy's glow-up to conquer a reversed world. Why are you gay? You are gay. Our tale begins with a chubby boy on his bed, utterly shocked by his phone screen. He's been reborn, but it seems the social functions of men and women have been completely inverted. It's already been 2 days since he arrived in this bizarre reality, and he still hasn't adjusted to this overweight body. In his past life, he was a legendary alpha emperor. But now, he's in a world where girls mug guys in the streets, women give birth, but men raise the children and clean the house. Besides this weirdness, the world's spiritual energy is weak, so regaining his power won't be easy. So, he might be stuck washing dishes and being subservient to women. In his past life, he battled a powerful demon, and both lost their bodies. It appears only his soul survived and was reincarnated. Now, he inhabits the body of Lin Mo, a spoiled rich kid from a private school. He wonders if that demon also revived. He must live as Lin Mo until he's strong again. It seems even an emperor has to go to school. Looking around, he assumes this family isn't totally broke. Still, the house is smaller than his previous fish tank. His memories state that his parents died in an accident, while his grandmother was in a hospital with severe Alzheimer's. His distant aunt took over as his guardian after he was abandoned, bringing her family with her. Before long, everything he owned belonged to his aunt, and his life quality plummeted. Walking through the house, the boy makes his way to a table. The one with hair like a cow licked it was Yingjun, and the other was Ziquan. His aunt appears, saying he's just in time to talk about his studies. She agreed with Yane Hay that school was a joke. Hearing that name, the boy paused. In his body's memories, his grandmother arranged a marriage for him before her illness, and the girl had that exact name. However, she was appalled when she found out about the arrangement. She had sneered, asking how a fat guy like him could go out. While crossing the street, a truck then hit him. After that incident, his aunt canceled the wedding. He thought it was incredible that the emperor of his time would be forced to marry by another woman's decision. In the kitchen, his aunt asks if he's listening. The boy said it was nothing, telling her not to set up another marriage for him. Observing Lin's expression, the woman felt he was different. There was a sudden, inexplicable feeling of tyranny. Lin then sits at the table, thinking he's had no appetite since his diet began. But to keep this body from starving, he had to take it slow. Picking up some food, he noted it smelled good. His cousin then asks why he isn't studying abroad anymore. Since his classmates knew how much he confessed his love, Lin wondered why this emperor, who reigned for millennia, needed to talk to these insects. Still, he had to act like a normal person, saying he was happy with his current school and wouldn't leave. The boy said it didn't matter which school he went to as long as his grades were good. Continuing to eat, Lin simply wanted to ignore him. An hour later, the protagonist was in a car as the driver announced their arrival. His cousin, in turn, told Lin not to get out of the car with him. With a look of pure contempt, the protagonist stared at him, terrifying the boy with that gaze. He then stormed out of the car. Lin was now in front of a building, noting this world's architecture was excellent. However, there were a few problems. Each of the men stood out, showing off their pale legs and even making girlish gestures. At least the women looked normal. In the background, 2 girls were teasing his brother, saying his legs were pretty. With pure disgust, the boy thought it was so unpleasant he could almost throw up. However, he had to forget it, not knowing if that demon was still out there. He needed to strengthen this body before she showed up. As he walked through the school, Lin eventually found his classroom. From the back, someone seemed to mock him, saying his fiancé was there. His wife was at her desk while 2 girls spoke with her. Observing the protagonist, she clearly did not like his presence at all. Lin found it amazing how insufferable mortals could be. The boy approaching his desk just baffled Yanhui. As he sat, he wondered how to restart his cultivation. A tap on his shoulder. "I told you," a voice said. "You can't like her." A red-haired girl was offering him some unsolicited advice. Lin recognized her as a classmate of this body. The girl pressed on, questioning his taste in liking someone from class 2. Seeing Lin's silence, she figured she'd said too much. "There's still a chance with Yanhui," she offered. "Maybe if you lost some weight." He finally cut in, asking her to get to the point. "How did you know I was plotting?" she asked. Surprised, Lin deadpanned. "You're not that nice." Cornered, the girl finally asked for a favor. A quick game, she promised. It wouldn't take long at all. The reward, she'd introduce him to someone way prettier than Yanhui. She mentioned a mountain, unreachable alone, but she had connections for a direct climb. She planned a summer trip, hyping up the night view. He'd seriously regret it if he said no. Lin's mind raced. High mountains draw spiritual energy. This peak was the closest, a prime spot for power. Plus, climbing a mountain seemed like a great way for this body to shed some pounds. He accepted the deal, mentioning he wasn't great at games, which made her light up. Turns out they were battling some poser from class 3. The plan was to use the computer club's PCs after school. Later, in the computer room, she bragged about booking it just for them, ensuring no interruptions. She plopped into a chair, telling Lin which user to connect to. He entered his password and logged in. In C, he saw it was a competitive action game with an immortal cultivation theme. His new friend appeared, announcing she'd called the realm boss to help them out. The boss warped in, remarking, "So you really brought a guy?" He seemed to approve, since the main character was his friend's classmate. She cut the chatter and launched the 3 versus 3 PvP mode. As they started, the girl told them to stay put. She was going to wipe the floor with the enemy team. The friend told him to hide while she scouted ahead. Lin mused that true immortals only existed in his old world, but this game's cultivation system was eerily similar to his reality. He figured there was a chance immortals existed here too. He'd need to be cautious. A notification popped up an ally had fallen. The red-haired girl reappeared, looking seriously stressed. "My bad," she yelled, rushing back in for revenge. She died again, and then rushed in again. This time, her friend tried to help. It was completely useless. Outside the game, his friend was fuming. Even the realm boss couldn't beat this person. She warned him to be careful. Flying Feather was coming for him. But Lin remained perfectly calm. He thought about his battle instincts, honed over millennia. They worked just fine, even in a video game. Meanwhile, the other team was closing in, led by a player being cheered on by 2 girls. "You can't escape me," the enemy player declared. Looking back, Lin confirmed he was being tailed. He stopped running, realizing his pursuer was an Emperor class. No wonder he was being hunted. The woman quickly hid when she realized she'd been spotted. A quick reaction, he noted. But this body couldn't win. The game's attacks were too clunky. In the real world, Lin's hands started to move, as if using a real skill. His opponent observed him, thinking he was just a clueless newbie. That was his biggest advantage. Lin's fingers blurred over the keyboard and mouse, unleashing a precise attack. It landed instantly, and a death notification appeared. On the other side of the room, their jaws dropped. How did the newbie just win? His friend jumped up from her chair. "I didn't know you were so good," seeing him frozen. She asked if he was okay. Lin was reeling. He never imagined a mortal body could be so damaged by a tiny bit of spiritual energy. Back in the game, another teammate urged a retreat, but it was too late. The enemy had finally found him. "Why do you always run?" she seethed. "This time, I'll kill you." She charged right at him. The boy, in the meantime, was already running for his life. Seeing her closing in, he decided to boost his lower body once more, hurling his sword right at her. "You think you can hit me from that far?" she scoffed. In that instant, a blade strikes her leg, sending her crashing down. Was the sword in her leg a warning to back off outside the game? Her friend shouts that they have to stop this chase. The girl fires back, asking if she even knew their opponent and to contact them immediately. Slumped in a chair, she can only mutter the protagonist's name. Elsewhere, the protagonist's friend gets a call from those same girls, demanding a meeting. His friend rushes to Lin, hyping up his amazing skills for another match. But Lin refuses, reminding her of the promise she made. A short while later, Lin is finally home. He collapses into his room, lamenting how fragile his new body is. The next morning, his cousin calls, demanding he tell everyone that the marriage to Yanhui is a complete sham. Our protagonist scoffs, saying there's no need to deny something that's already false. As he walks away, his cousin mutters about how arrogant he's become. In the classroom, his friend immediately spots him. "Dude, you know that girl Xiao Yutang? She actually goes to our school?" He adds that Lin's been through a lot, but this girl wants to see him. "Don't worry, she won't do anything to a guy." But as he's about to finish, a death glare from the protagonist cuts him off. He quickly changes his tune, stammering that it wasn't the player. "Momo baby." Just then, a girl marches to his desk. It's Yan Hewer, demanding he clarify that their marriage is fake. Lin's friend interjects, saying she's taking this way too far. "He's just a boy, have some compassion." But the girl retorts, questioning if she has a crush on the protagonist. Leaping into the fray, Lin declares that whether it's true or not, there's zero chance of them ever being together, and tells her to leave. Yanhai sneers, calling him conceited and warns him to never speak of marriage again. In the back, a classmate whispers that Lin is tough for not crying. Another guy adds that if it were him, he would have transferred schools by now. Suddenly, the classroom door slides open. It's the girl he defeated, flanked by 2 of her lackeys. Whispers erupt that it's Xiao Yutong, the infamous troublemaker. Anyone who crosses her path mysteriously drops out. She strides up to Lin's desk and calls out his name. Apparently, Yan Heer is her sister. She then calls him Momo Baby, his game ID, and tells him to come with her. Lin, however, remains seated, thoroughly annoyed. He thinks, "I am an emperor, not Momo Baby." The gossips wonder how he knows her and why he has that nickname. His friend whispers an apology, saying the girl just wants to play a match with him one-on-one. All he has to do is go with her. Leaving the room, Lin mutters about how bothersome these people are. Utang is waiting right outside, thinking she never expected the legendary Momo baby to be a guy. She finds it amusing, since women used to fight in combat skirts back in the day. But now, it seems that has become the new standard for them. She peppers him with questions, demanding to know if he defeated her, and orders him to a solo duel after class. But Lin denies it, claiming he just got lucky and isn't a real player, trying to head back to class. Utang scoffs in disbelief, wondering if this kid has any idea who she is. Her friend remarks that since he was dumped, Lin probably has no more love in his heart to feel fear. Utang orders her to bring him at noon. Back in class, a group of guys immediately asks what Tang wanted with him. His friend claims the girl must be into him and just wanted to play alone. He tells Lin not to sweat it, promising a weekend trip to Wu Mountain with some girls lined up. With a piercing stare, Lin warns him not to bring anyone else along. His friend's mind goes to weird places as she gets flustered. Just then, another girl arrives to say Utang is waiting. But when they look, Lin has already vanished from the classroom. In the cafeteria, Lin is eating while others mock the huge amount of food he has. He asks the server to pack it to go. Leaving the chaos, he thinks he's still not used to this noisy world and shouldn't let it get to him. But from the background, a new figure begins to approach him. Her whispers offered a deal for the body, fated to die in a year, merge with her to survive, and she would grant his every desire. As he walked, his beauty turned heads. The woman smirked. She'd made the right choice. From now on, her 18 years of life were his. It was a pity, she mused, that his joys and sorrows were but a drop in her ocean of existence. After ages of endless struggle, she had finally managed to defeat the Emperor. But the victory felt hollow. Her only path forward was reviving the demon world. However, that Emperor was a cunning snake who wouldn't die so easily. She had to be cautious. He might have escaped to this world. A world she found rather amusing. In the demon world, her father never acknowledged her strength, simply because she was a woman. Men belittled her, seeking only to possess her. So she donned a demon mask and taught them true fear. But in this world, men were the weaker sex. Cultivation was feasible, despite the scarce spiritual power. Her beauty was enough to draw followers. But this one guy was getting annoying. It was best to be direct. She turned back. Their eyes locked in an instant. She told him to stop following her. There was no future for them. But our boy walked right past, completely ignoring her, mortified. The girl vowed to regain her power before leaving this ridiculous world. The men here are just too shy, she rationalized. He was clearly too embarrassed to admit he was chasing her. She decided to let it go, to spare his pride. Meanwhile, our protagonist was simply annoyed. He wondered why that girl was still following him. He was heading for the terrace, but now he needed a new plan. Then again, he recalled that normal students never went up there. The people of this world are so fragile, physically and spiritually. Still, her fate was not his concern. And yet, it bothered him. He remembered the original body's owner, whose friend had also jumped. He headed towards the terrace. Fine, he would honor this body's lingering will. Reaching the rooftop, she saw the protagonist at the very edge. She immediately used a skill to freeze him. But she'd forgotten she had no spiritual power left. Lin just thought, "It's cold. I should get lunch." Suddenly, the girl rushed forward, yelling for the protagonist to wait. As she grabbed his stomach, Lin asked what she was doing. She tried to lift him, telling him to come down. But she was shocked by his weight, and they both tumbled to the ground. She even felt a rib crack. Lying on top of her, Lin sighed that he didn't even have time to react. When he asked what she was doing, she snapped that she was saving him. Now her rib was broken, all thanks to him. It finally dawned on Lin. She thought he was going to jump. Of course, and happy. In this world, men were fragile. He extended a hand. He told her to control her imagination. He was just getting some fresh air, not trying to jump. Besides, he added bluntly, he wasn't interested in her. Utterly humiliated, she screamed at him to get out of her sight and never appear before her again. As Lin left, he mused that she had just rejected an emperor's help. If she didn't want it, that was her problem. Back in the classroom, his friend ran up. Tang was looking for him and said to wait after class. The protagonist simply said it was her mess, so she should be the one to solve it. But she begged him to go with her to play with Tang, promising she would even let him win. That should be enough to pacify him. But Lin refused. Lose to a little girl? Never. Not even in a game. His friend kept trying to convince him, but he just repeated that the problem was hers. She desperately said she would do anything, but Lin's mind was set. He was not going. His friend sighed, realizing she had failed. In a flash, the school day was over. Standing up, the protagonist said it was time to leave. He couldn't forget his promise on Wu Mountain. As he walked, a thought struck him. He'd fallen on that girl. Was she all right? Human bodies are so fragile. He might have broken her ribs. In this world, human lives were precious. He could actually get arrested for this. That would be a huge problem. Sighing, Lin decided he'd better go and check on her. Meanwhile, she was still stranded on the terrace. This body was too weak to move. Plus, it was windy. and she was starving. She considered screaming for help, but pride wouldn't let her. This turn of events was definitely not in the script. The invincible demon that humbled an emperor, felled by a portly guy. Just then, a figure walked toward the girl. Recognizing Lin, the girl demanded to know why he had returned. Kneeling beside her, he noted she didn't look so hot. He placed a hand on her back, stating, "You've broken a few ribs. You're too weak and need to exercise." But the girl shot back that it was all his fault. As Lin shrugged off his jacket, the Empress, flustered, asked what on earth he was doing. He simply draped it over her, saying it was windy on the terrace and she should wear his suit. Pulling out his phone, he said he was calling an ambulance, but the Empress insisted she didn't need his jacket. Our protagonist knew her weight was the issue, but bluntly told her the body was fragile, and she could take it off when help arrived. For the girl, however, that wasn't the reason. She was just shocked that he was being so decent. In this world, male beauty standards were everything. She didn't get why Lin helped, but decided to keep an eye on him. A short while later, the ambulance arrived. As the Empress was loaded onto the stretcher, two girls noticed the commotion. Mortified, she thought she would never forget this day. That night, our protagonist finally made it home. Walking in, his cousin demanded to know why Wang had spoken to him. Lin coolly replied that he would only say this once. Zikuan, however, thought the fat guy had a sharp look, noting he'd become more aggressive lately. He figured Yutong must have been forced into seeing him and gotten into some kind of trouble. Because of that, he'd ask his mom to kick Lin out, to which Lin questioned what he was on about, reminding him this was his house. Zixin swung at him, saying he asked for it. Effortlessly, Lin caught his hand midair. Squeezing his arm, he thought, pathetically weak, not even worth my time. The cousin crumbled to the ground, crying that it hurt, and he was telling his father Lin hit him. His father appeared, demanding to know how he dared hit his cousin and vowing to take care of him. But, just as easily, the protagonist caught the man's hand, stunning him with his strength. Lin gave him a piece of advice: never mess with him again. The man just started crying, calling him an abuser. He called for Lin's aunt, claiming he was causing trouble. She entered the room and told everyone to be quiet. Staring at Lin, she sensed he was different. She didn't want details, just for him to apologize to his uncle. Lin thought to himself that she was the first to ask an emperor to apologize. He stated he wasn't wrong and wouldn't do it. But she threatened his vacation allowance. The boy, however, said he didn't need it. Once in his room, Lin paused. Wait, was she talking about money? He suddenly remembered that without money, he couldn't get to Wuzu Mountain. The house had nothing to sell, and he had no savings. He tried selling clothes online, and, to his surprise, a buyer appeared almost instantly. 3 girls in the comments were asking creepy personal questions, like if his scent was still on the clothes. The protagonist was shocked. He'd faced demons without fear, but these women were truly terrifying. Still, he needed the cash. He wondered why money was his first problem when he should be recovering his strength. The body is the foundation of cultivation. If he could just absorb spiritual energy, money would be no issue. A few minutes later, the boy was exhausted, his spiritual power depleted. The body was too weak. He had to forge it from scratch. Then, his friend called, wanting to discuss the Wu Mountain trip. She mentioned another guy was going and asked if they should reschedule. Lin said it was no problem. They could go anyway. His friend reminded him the bus left early, so they shouldn't be late. The next day, our protagonist sat down for breakfast. Zwan mocked him, asking why he was up so early and if Yan Hui had asked him out. However, our hero remained completely silent. His cousin fumed internally, wondering what he was planning. He sneered. Enjoy eating like a beggar. My bus is here. Near the bus, Yan called out to him, saying she was getting worried and they needed to board quickly. On the bus, she remarked that Lin seemed different since she rejected him, admitting she'd pushed him during an argument with her father. Yan Hui, however, griped that she always knew bringing Lin to Wu Mountain was a terrible idea. She claimed he would tag along, but another girl sniped that he looked like a whale's pacifier and wouldn't be able to climb. Suddenly, the main character's friend steps in, defending him as a former classmate. The girl was surprised to see Lin, but since he wasn't afraid of Yan Hui, she decided to stick by his side. Lin then boards the bus, but Yan Hui immediately blocks him, demanding to know why he pushed Zixin. His friend quickly intervened, saying, "It's a misunderstanding. Lin is a calm person." She then called the boy to the front, pointing out the beautiful view as a distraction. Up front, she asked the driver to stop for the next person. Meanwhile, the protagonist hoped Wu Mountain wouldn't disappoint. Glancing to the side, he saw a girl on a motorcycle screeching to a halt before them. As she removed her helmet, he realized it was Tang. His friend got nervous, worried Tang was there for Lin Mo, and stood up to talk to her. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Tang simply replied she was looking for that fat guy. Spotting Lin, she smirked, noting his size was the only reason she found him. The bus erupted in laughter. Tang told him to forget Wuzu Mountain and play video games with her instead. She even promised his girlfriend would come back if he agreed. But he wasn't interested, coldly telling her to leave him alone. Yang's tone sharpened. She blamed him for her only loss and demanded to know if he would come with her. Lin's eyes widened. He noticed a faint aura coming from the girl's necklace. He mused that her refining technique was poor, but still impressive for this world.
Are there still cultivators here? He wondered, promising to play with her after he climbed the mountain.
His friend suggested they all go to the mountain. Yang questioned if Lin could even handle the climb. Since he was just an unpopular fat kid, she decided she would watch him fail. Just then, another guy offered her his seat, suggesting she sit next to him. She completely ignored him, telling a friend to watch her bike and demanding Lin play with her now. However, the main character had a condition if he won. He wanted a prize. Yutong accepted, but if he lost, he'd be her servant forever, all while ignoring the other guy. That guy turned to Ziguan, asking why Tang was so obsessed with playing against Lin. Ziguan had no clue, thinking the protagonist was just a pain. Back in the game, Lin was facing Yuang. He spotted an opening and prepared a lightning-fast attack, surprising Yutong completely. The attack landed perfectly. The system declared Momo Baby the winner. Yutong stared in disbelief, questioning his incredible precision. But the protagonist coolly stated every move was calculated, calling the game too easy. She thought he was a genius, unaware he was using cultivation to boost his brain. Now it was time for his prize. Lin's request was simple 10,000 in cash. Yang scoffed, offering to get his ex-fiancée back. She then ordered him to be her training partner starting today. Ignoring her offer, Lin just asked for the transfer, needing the money to forge his new body. Taking out her phone, Yutong sent the money instantly. She also added her number, warning him to always answer her calls, but never to call her or share it. The protagonist noted that even as an emperor, he'd never seen such arrogance. The girl then stood up, complaining about the lack of space. She ordered Yan Hui to move to the front, leaving the other girl stunned. She couldn't believe her effort to sit next to Ziguan was just wasted. Yutong just told her to hurry. Yan Hui wanted to scold her sister, but couldn't do it in public. Zuin then told the girl that Lin wanted to talk to her, so she got up and headed toward the protagonist. The boy was thrilled to sit next to Yutang, but when Zixuan tried to introduce himself, Wang brutally told him to shut up. She thought that if she'd known he was so annoying and wore so much perfume, she'd have rather sat with the protagonist. Finally, they arrived at Wu Mountain. The students were in awe of its height. The protagonist's friend told everyone to follow her closely. 30 minutes later, Lin Mo eyed the other boys. Pathetic. Once his true power returned, he'd torture them for a few centuries. The main character's friend, seeing him all alone, felt a dilemma. Helping him meant risking weird looks from everyone else. 20 minutes on, Lin Mo was still scaling the mountain. This mortal body had the worst stamina of the bunch. Those boys looked fragile, but they were surprisingly fit. They noticed Lin Mo couldn't keep up anymore. His friend felt a pang of guilt. She'd dragged him here. Hesitantly, she asked if he needed help, but Lin Mo told her to go on ahead. He could manage just fine. In his mind, this burn was nothing compared to the hells he'd endured in his past life. His friend wondered why he was trying so hard. She said she'd go on, but if he couldn't make it, he should just let her know. The crowd below was buzzing. He was already halfway up. The other boys were completely gassed, giving up on the spot. But Lin Mo just kept climbing, his eyes fixed on the peak. Nearing the summit, he saw a group of people already heading back down. The other girl was amazed. He'd actually made it this far alone. His resilience was unreal. His friend complained about the height, suggesting they head back for food. But Lin Mo insisted he was reaching the top. Annoyed, she asked if he had a death wish. The other girl just sighed, telling her to let him be. 20 minutes later, he stood at the summit. Yutang, who was waiting, looked shocked he actually made it. But what a shame. He was the last one up, long after everyone else had already left. He was completely alone. Looking up, Lin Mo gazed at the vast sea of stars. He could feel it. The air here was rich with spiritual energy. It was a drop in the ocean, but enough to begin his training. With this, he'd gain an edge over that old demon. No matter the time, he would use this place to train. Suddenly, a hand landed on his shoulder. Yutang asked what he was doing. He simply said he was enjoying the view. She thought he was a quiet, annoying weirdo. In his mind, the former emperor had already executed her for such insolence. Yutang then ordered him to leave, declaring the spot was now hers. Lin Mo shot back that he was exhausted. So she should help him down. She decided she wouldn't bother him again today, tossing him a snack. From now on, she'd be his companion. Announcing she was bored, she left first. He opened the wrapper to find her leftovers. He scoffed. In his past life, he'd feasted on demonic beast corpses. This was nothing. Sitting down to meditate, he decided to start with marrow cleansing. Hours later, night had fallen. His friend called, asking if he was seriously not coming back. Lin Mo said the place was nice and he'd stay for the holidays. He then figured he should probably inform his aunt. He called her bluntly, stating he'd be away for a few days during the break.
After hanging up, the hotel attendant asked how he could help the young man.
He asked for the price of a single room for 2 months, 8,000 yen. And so, his holiday training began. Day after day, he climbed the mountain relentlessly. The training was brutal, but the reward would be immense. 2 months flew by. His friend called, saying she was there to pick him up and asking if he was packed. She hadn't spoken to him all holiday, and because of that absence, Yu Tang had been pestering her constantly. She had to drag him back to Tong, no matter what. Meanwhile, Lin Mo observed his reflection. After 2 months, the spiritual energy in his body was still pathetic, but his new, chiseled form was undeniable. He'd have to continue playing the part of a mediocre student. Sometime later, his friend finally spotted him, but she stopped dead, stunned by his handsome face. She thought she had the wrong guy, her mind already planning their wedding.
With a look of utter bewilderment,
She just kept staring. He noticed her gaze, flustered. She turned to leave, thinking he must find her a total creep. Lin Mo called out, asking where she was going. She hadn't made a mistake. She turned back, asking if he was a friend of Lin Mo. He simply stated in that he was Lin Mo. She refused to believe it, thinking they just shared a name. But he just sighed, explaining he'd only lost some weight. He couldn't see what the big deal was. But the boy was utterly transformed. He was a completely different person. Grabbing the bags, Lin simply said, "Let's go." That cold tone confirmed it for her. It was definitely Lin Mo. She wasn't dreaming. The boy had changed beyond recognition. She felt lucky she'd never been mean to him. "Let me carry your bag," she offered. But another girl quickly appeared, offering to help. His friend quickly rushed to the car, opening the door for him like a valet. Inside, she gushed about how handsome he was. "Did you spend all your time climbing a mountain?" His efforts had definitely paid off. When Yang sees him now, she'll completely regret breaking up. That's why so many girls would suddenly be nice to him. But he needed to know it was all just an act. Fed up, Lin just told her to be quiet. She worried instantly, wondering if he hated her for not climbing the mountain with him. If only she had been nicer. He might have fallen for her. They could have had the perfect romance. But there was still a chance she was his closest friend, after all. "You must have suffered," she said. "Let's go get something to eat." But the boy just wanted her to take him home. Later, they arrived at his house. His friend said she'd see him in a few days. The other girl asked if she wasn't taking him to see her. But Yunu refused, thinking, "I can't lead this perfect lamb into a wolf's den." All she really wanted was to use Lin's gaming account anyway. With that, Lin Mo entered his house. His family stared in shock at his appearance. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "It's me, Lin Mo," he said. "I just lost weight." But Saquon didn't believe it. Losing weight couldn't make someone that handsome. His mother told him to stop shouting, then asked her son if he'd had surgery. The boy pointed out she had all his money, so there was no way. He then questioned if he'd get his allowance this semester. His aunt promised to pay for his expenses and buy him a new uniform. But if he ever troubled his cousin or uncle again, she wouldn't give him another cent. Standing up, Lin said he was satisfied. His aunt finally believed it was him. The next day, he headed to school in a car with his cousin. "Why is the driver going so slow today?" Zixuan snapped. The driver said she'd go faster, but she couldn't help staring at the protagonist. She just wanted to keep looking at the handsome boy. The moment Lin stepped out of the car, everyone around them was stunned by his looks. Who is that guy, they wondered. His cousin, burning with jealousy, questioned why Lin was getting all the attention. Noticing girls taking pictures of him, he thought something wasn't right. He quickly entered his classroom. As he walked to his seat, another girl wondered if he was a new transfer student. Lin, meanwhile, just thought he'd lost some weight. Sure, he looked a little better than usual now, but he wouldn't normally get this much attention. He wondered if it was his aura. Just then, a commotion started at the classroom door. Yu Tang, holding his friend, demanded she bring that fat guy to her in 3 minutes. But Yoonhoo insisted that the fat guy was gone. The girl hissed that she would regret continuing to lie. Defeated, Yoonhoo pointed her finger at the main character. "That's Lin. He lost weight during the holidays." Observing the boy, Yu Tang looked on in total disbelief. Furious, she shouted that guy could never be Lin, but Yoonhoo swore she was telling the truth. The protagonist spoke up, saying she wasn't lying. "We can train whenever. Meet me after class." Yu Tang demanded to know who he was again. Yoonhoo explained he was Lin and had lost weight climbing Mount Wuzu during the holidays. In her mind, Yu Tang wondered if it was really him. Was he truly that fatso? The boy coolly asked her not to call him that again. Noticing his voice and behavior were the same, she realized it really was Lin. "I don't care if you're fat or thin," she said. "Just wait for me after class." Yoonhoo tried to explain that another person had played before, and Lin only joined to complete the team, saying he wasn't even good at games. With a death glare, Yu Tang watched her. "Are you daring to say Lin can't play?" She mentioned how yesterday, someone used Lin's account to deceive her, calling her the most arrogant person for trying such a thing. As she was leaving, Yunshu begged to explain, thinking that now Yu Tang would never leave her alone. 2 girls appeared, asking how she knew it was Lin. Even if it was him, there's no way he'd get so handsome without some plastic surgery. The teacher arrived, calling for order to start the class, curious about their holidays. But then, her eyes widened, asking who the new student in the back was. Yunshu revealed it was Lin, who'd slimmed down over the break.
Stunned, the teacher said he'd changed so much and must have worked very hard for it.
She asked if he wanted a front seat this semester. Instantly, a girl said no, claiming Yunu promised to swap with her. Another girl claimed she'd grown taller and also needed a back seat. Yunu knew they were after her spot, but she refused to give it up that easily. Ending the argument, the teacher declared that the first person to move would be Yunhu. As two girls dragged her from her chair, her friend pleaded for her to stay. Another guy asked Ziguan if Lin got plastic surgery, and he replied, "What other way is there?" The teacher announced that odd numbers would stay and evens would swap, pairing Li Jiang with Lin.
Another girl asked in disbelief if Jang would really sit next to the main character.
She then decided it was for the best, as it kept Yunshu away from him. Looking at his new deskmate, he saw a quiet, chubby kid. Perfect, no disturbances. Up front, Yunshu was crying over her lost seat. That's when Lin Mo stood up. A group of girls immediately flocked to him, saying they'd be tired climbing a mountain daily. Another asked if he could give her brother some workout tips. Yunshu thought they were all fakes. When Lin was chubby, no one cared. At least she had always been kind to him. Lin coldly told them to get out of his way. They quickly scattered. One girl thought his attitude was so handsome. Seeing Zixawan looking stressed, a girl teased him for being jealous. But it didn't matter, since they all preferred Lin now. Meanwhile, our protagonist was in the cafeteria. A girl offered her seat, saying she was leaving anyway. But Lin flatly declined. He thought it wasn't safe near these mortals. Their eyes were filled with nothing but deceit. In the distance, Yanehui wondered if that was really the main character. Ziguan asked if she regretted dumping him now, but she insisted she wasn't that shallow. Another girl announced she'd pursue Lin Mo, claiming she always liked his personality, surgery or not.
Hearing this, Yan Hei immediately called her a hypocrite.
The girl scoffed, thinking the real hypocrisy was calling it plastic surgery. If she could get Lin's amazing legs, she wouldn't care if they were fake, vowing to win him over herself. Elsewhere, Lin Mo walked through the school. Just then, Yan Huer appeared to apologize, saying it was all too sudden and she wasn't ready for marriage.
The protagonist accepted her apology and turned to leave, but she asked him to wait.
He questioned if there was more to say. She affirmed she was truly sorry for her words. Lin just kept walking, leaving Yan Hei to wonder if she was the reason for his cold transformation. Outside the school building, Lin Mo just hoped the rooftop was empty. On the way, he spotted the girl with the broken ribs, wondering if she'd steal his spot again. Looking back, she noticed Lin following her. He resembled that guy, but was much more handsome. Lin then walked right past her, much to her relief, as she thought he was going to talk to her. She then questioned if he was also heading to the rooftop. She saw him start up the stairs. Instantly, she bolted past him. He noted her haste. Did this mere mortal really intend to steal his spot? Their gazes met. In that moment, they both understood the other's intent. And so, the race for the rooftop began. She thought he was so annoying. Where were his gentlemanly manners? Besides, how could he run that fast? She was only trying to give him a chance. If she lost, it would be a disgrace to women everywhere. Meanwhile, someone was watching the commotion. "Back to the chase," the girl yelled, asking why Lin was running. He retorted that he wanted to ask her the same thing. She then demanded to know why he wasn't chasing her, but he simply replied he would never do that. "Don't you dare speak to me that way. A boy like you will never find a wife." Lin Mo wondered how an emperor could worry about marriage, a man of his great status.
"You're not so kind yourself," he retorted. "Fighting over a terrace?"
At the rooftop door, they block each other's path. A sudden race began to see who'd get there first. He figured brute force was his only option, and ended up grabbing something unexpectedly soft.
An embarrassed flush crept over her face. The protagonist awkwardly registered the sensation.
He quickly darted onto the terrace. "From now on," he declared, "this place is mine." The girl fumed. "How dare you? Do you know who I am? And after what you just did?"
"You touched me," she accused. He approached and slapped the poor girl. "You touched me first."
"Right, I almost forgot. Men in this world are fragile." Then, the girl called him shameless.
Pulling out his phone, Lin warned, "Leave or I call the police."
The girl's temper flared. Recording her, the young man asked her to repeat her threat. Then, he remembered something crucial. Women who hit men here were despised. If she were caught, her school life was over. He realized he had cleverly turned the tables on her. Even if she told someone, they would surely believe the protagonist. "I'll leave."
Lin was just relieved he escaped, thinking she was way too annoying.
He remembered the morning news and grabbed his phone, but what he saw left him stunned. The news showed a farm where chickens were catching a strange virus,
which turned them into shriveled husks. Lin Mo stared. It seemed familiar, like the demon's sword that drained creatures to the bone.
But in their final clash, that sword had shattered, and his own broke protecting him. He was sent to this world, never sure if the demon truly died, to become immortal. Lin followed the path of heaven. She, however, grew stronger just by killing. He knew he had to investigate this. By sunset, Lin was finally leaving, but the girls were still swarming around him. Yunshin appeared, saying she'd walk with him to Yutong's house. But Lin Mo said no. Still, she insisted on going. She claimed Yutong and her sister were dangerous,
telling a tragic story about a boy who was tricked by them. He just wanted her to back off, asking her to keep her distance.
but she insisted he was getting the wrong idea. Once inside, she looked surprised. "Aren't you meeting Yutong?" He simply said he had more important things to do. Yoon questioned if he knew she'd looked for him all vacation. He just said they'd talk later. The girl told him not to worry, saying she'd explain things to Yang tomorrow, hoping that if she helped, Lin might finally thank her properly. Meanwhile, our hero was in a car, thinking the farm was outside the city. If that demon was there, he'd end her, even if it cost him his soul. Arriving at the location, Lin Mo knew his soul power was low, but he had to use it. He began a spell and instantly sensed a powerful demonic chi from a house. He knew then that the demon had survived. Glancing aside, he saw someone approaching. A voice called out from the distance. The figure removed a helmet, revealing Yutong. "What are you doing out here?" she asked. Lin's mind raced. How did she find him here? It wasn't a coincidence. He quickly said he'd call a cab for her, but she had a story ready. Her taxi was going the wrong way, so she jumped out. Annoyed, she snapped, "Do you still think you're that ugly fatso? Now that you're handsome, you'll attract girls who only think with their hormones." She added that handsome guys are prime targets for traffickers, and that he should always call for help. "Hold my helmet," she ordered. "I'm calling the police." She asked if he saw the car's license plate, but he hadn't. She said she'd send a few texts and be right back. Lin mused that for a mere mortal, she was surprisingly good at sensing demonic energy. He then spots her return. Noting that shedding pounds was clearly causing her some problems, she asks for her helmet, putting it on. She claims it's to avoid trouble, but her blush betrays her. He's way cuter than those internet bikers, she thought. Lin just wondered if it offered any real protection. He was seriously handsome, she thought. But where did he get that ridiculous idea? She explains it's her custom helmet, and if he broke it, she'd give it to some mean girls as a prize, since it only gave her headaches. Watching her leave, he realized she was heading straight for the demonic energy hotspot. Worried, he decided he had to check out what was happening. Meanwhile, Yutong wanders into a forbidden area, where an old woman questions who she's looking for. Yutong instantly draws her weapon. "You've got guts," she smirks, "for not running away on sight." The desperate old lady cried that she shouldn't play such dangerous games because it was illegal. Yutong scoffs, asking about the laws of demon cultivators, but the woman insists she's just a chicken farmer.
A dagger stealthily slides from her sleeve, but Wu-Tang sees it coming and fires without hesitation. With her arm bleeding, the old lady pleads for her life. "Good acting," Wu-Tang scoffs, "but not good enough." Her weapon then transforms into a sword.
Even so, the old crone insisted she was no demon cultivator. Yutong taunts that she was only capable of refining chickens for now. But in the future, it might be people, she adds, admitting she had little cultivation time. But she was still better than a monk. The demon asks how she missed that, saying she'd gain great power if she was refined. How encouraging? Yutong deadpans, lunging at the demon. She declared the outcome was fixed and stabbed the monster's chest. From the background, Lin Mo observes that the energy felt like it was from a demonic sword. To Wu-Tang's surprise, her powerful sword strike had absolutely no effect. The girl realized this energy was completely different from any demon she had ever faced before. Wondering what this creature was, the monster lunged. Wu-Tang barely managed to dodge the attack.
She knew that a single hit would have been fatal. Again, the creature's fist glowed with a powerful spell.
Yutong then throws a spiritual talisman at the monster. However, it's useless, and the demon attacks again. Suddenly, she's hurled violently against a wall, spitting blood. She couldn't believe she had lost. Just then, our protagonist appears, and she tells him to get lost. Lin asks her to be polite, but Wu-Tang just orders him to leave. With a simple gesture, the young man uses a skill, and the demon freezes in place. A surprised Wu-Tang asks why it stopped. Lin replies, "Nothing special. It's because I'm here." The demon tries to flee but just collapses. A colossal aura then surrounds the protagonist. The pressure was so intense, the girl couldn't breathe. She wondered who Lin truly was. Meanwhile, in another place and time, in the city of Luo Bay, a man explains that the Tao was the origin of heaven, earth, and all things. Then the man is startled. He questions why the bell is ringing, as that only happens during a world-shaking event. As the master kneels, his followers ask if he's okay. The man says the father of Tao has just been reincarnated. Back with our protagonist. The boy casually asks where the demon is, but the creature had already lost its spirit. It was merely a sword fragment. But that didn't matter. Using a skill, the young man effortlessly absorbs the spirit. He thinks it could be a demonic trap to reveal his location, but it's a good item to cultivate once purified. The only thing left was to handle the woman. Behind him, Wu-Tang whispers that he was so handsome. Using magic, the boy orders her to forget what she saw, and just like that, Wutong faints. Observing the girl, Lin notes her spiritual root was top tier, incredible even by his world's standards. However, this meant a good place for cultivation existed in this world. Otherwise, reaching her level was impossible. Right after using his ability, the boy feels a sharp pain in his chest. He had overloaded his residual soul and needed to leave. But two girls find him, calling him handsome and offering to take him somewhere nice. Lin simply asks, dropping her tough act, she asks him to show a little mercy. Visibly annoyed, he curses his damaged soul, which kept his true power sealed. Her hand touches his face as she commands his obedience. Suddenly, Wutong appears. Move! He throws a punch, but the woman barely evades it. Her friend lunges at Wutong, who easily dodges and strikes back. With a single, swift kick, she knocks them both out cold. She approaches Lin, asking why he didn't fight back, advising him to strike weak points with full force. Lin asks what a vital point is. Wutong scoffs. The chest? Do you even know how to defend yourself? As she leaves, she declares that she's taking the young man home.
When he starts removing his helmet, Wutong stops him, saying to just get on the bike.
Hopping on the motorcycle, the two speed off towards Lin's house. The main character thinks that in his past life, this was scandalous. But this world's customs were clearly different. The vehicle was fast, but he knew his sword flight was much faster.
Arriving in the quiet night, Lin thanks her and asks for the fare, but she just looks at him, confused.
Calling him a fatty, she notes how scared he was earlier. He tells her not to call him that, but Wutong says he never used to care. Mid-conversation, the girl is struck by a sudden memory. She realizes the main character had tricked her again, leaving her waiting. But he claims his family orders him straight home after class, insisting he actually waited for her. Wutong mentions having an emergency. Just then, his phone starts to ring. Answering, Wutong confirms the target possessed a powerful evil chi. Hopping on his bike, he says he has to go. As he speeds off, he pulls over, bothered by the lingering scent of the main character's shampoo. Back with Lin, his only thought was his need to recover. Ziquan calls, asking if he's bothering Wutong again. Yanhui quickly adds that Wutong is just stressed, Lin completely ignoring them both. Continues home. In his room, he knows using his power now could shatter his very foundation.
At least he acquired a sword fragment he could now use to cultivate.
Soon after, a knock comes at the door. It's Yanhui, wanting to talk. He sees she's alone. Yanhui confesses that the more time passes, the more she realizes she likes him.
She apologizes for everything, then brings up their grandmother's wish for them to marry.
Before she can say more, Lin slams the door in her face. Begging, she pleads for him to believe her, crying that they are meant to be married. But as a former emperor, Lin refused to lower himself to this kind of drama. He once thought he'd reached the peak of cultivation, but he still had a long journey ahead. He begins meditating, treating it as mental training. The next day at school, a girl invites him to eat. He ignores her completely. She notes he's handsome but has a heart of ice, looking more like a movie star each day. Nearby, Yanhui and her group were eating lunch. She glances over, seeing a girl invite the main character to her table, only for him to refuse without remorse. Ziquan scoffs at his lonely handsomeness, while another complains Lin always ignores his questions. Watching this situation, Yanhui seems increasingly restless. Getting up, she says she'll invite the boy over, since they are classmates. Ziquan snaps, asking why she'd bother when Lin hates him. Yanhui pleads for him to let her go, afraid Lin will misunderstand. Furious, Ziquan says he's lost all respect for her, warning her not to come back if she goes. But the girl thinks that having Lin Mo in her arms would be worth any sacrifice. Meanwhile, at Lin's table, a group of girls was already pestering him. He just wondered why all these women kept bothering him. Next, Wutong called, ordering him to her desk immediately. The guys watching the drama unfold figured Wutong must be into Lin. Yanhui, however, was freaking out. Of all the girls, it had to be her. Our young man couldn't believe she was still calling him fat. He then glanced over and saw that other girl. He immediately started walking. No way was he letting her steal his rooftop spot. Wutong watched him hurry off. The girl next to her scoffed. He gets a little handsome and acts so arrogant. Who does he think he is? Furious, Wutong texted him, "You are so dead after class." Back with Lin, he was just reaching the rooftop. But she was already in his spot. "I got here first," she declared, "so you can just leave." He refused, saying he'd won the spot last time. She scoffed, claiming she let him win. "You really think I'd lose to you?" He then challenged her to another race downstairs to settle it for good. Irritated, the Empress snapped, "Is running all you know? You'll never get married with skills like that." Lin Mo simply said it was nothing special. "Pick any game," he stated coolly. "I'll still beat you." A sly grin spread across her face as she formed a plan. She picked up a cup of pieces and said this would be their game. Staring at the objects in her hand, Lin wondered, could it possibly be that game? The Empress challenged him, wondering if he knew the game, beat her, and she would grant any wish. He sighed from the floor, claiming his wishes were impossible to grant anyway. She scoffed internally. With millennia of practice, her skills were practically divine. Little did she know, Our hero was a legendary grandmaster from his own world. Their eyes locked as the game began. An aura of intense focus filled the air. Still unable to win, Lin wondered if she was the reincarnated ghost of a pro player. The epic clash of minds continued until the sun finally set. She saw the match was on a knife's edge. One mistake and she'd lose. He smugly suggested she give up, but the Empress simply stated that school was already over for the day. He should just go home proud. Suddenly, Lin's phone buzzed. He wasn't leaving without a victory. For the Empress, that incessant ringing was pure torture. Snapping a photo of the board, she declared a rematch for tomorrow. But as she went to stand, her leg cramped from sitting so long, sending her toppling right onto the protagonist. Lin, for his part, quite enjoyed the soft landing. She, however, was dying of embarrassment. With a dramatic sigh, Lin slapped his own forehead. He warned her to keep her magic spheres to herself, or he'd call her a creep. She fumed. That was the second time. When her power returned, he would pay dearly. But first, she'd study all night to crush him. Elsewhere, Lin Mo finally answered his phone. It was Wang, and she was furious. She demanded his location, ordering him to the school gate. He figured Yuang just spent all her time at school playing games. Yet her cultivation level was sky high. He vowed to uncover her secret tonight. At the gate, Yutong demanded to know why he was so late after skipping every class. He casually said he was sleeping. She was stunned, revealing she was there for a rematch. She tossed him a helmet and told him to get on the motorcycle. They arrived at Wang's massive mansion. He was amazed, as she warned him not to touch anything. Lin Mo looked around. The place was a gamer's paradise, but had nothing for cultivation. She teased him, asking if he wasn't nervous being alone at a woman's house. He shot back, asking if she was planning to try something funny. She joked that since he wasn't fat anymore, it wasn't a terrible idea. Without a shred of mercy, he jabbed her in the stomach, warning her not to touch him. He was shocked. This martial art could actually take down a cultivator in seconds. Yutong got up, insisting it was a joke. The protagonist coldly stated he wasn't amused. Irritated, the woman declared they'd play over 300 matches. She would make him pay. Moments later, in the game, Lin Mo won the first round. Then the second, then the third. The cycle of defeat continued without a single win for her. Utterly defeated, Yutong stared at the 47-0 score. He announced it was time to go. He subtly placed a strange object under her table. She begged for another round, but he refused. Lin Mo simply said he would call himself a taxi. The object he'd left behind began to stir, twitching as if it had come to life. Meanwhile, Yanhui was fuming in her room, wondering why Lin had skipped class. Where could he have gone? A sudden call urged her to check the group chat. She looked at her phone and her blood ran cold. It was a photo of him, with Wang. In a fit of pure rage, she swept everything off her desk with a crash. How dare that woman take her Lin Mo home, but she knew cursing wouldn't help. A purple crystal on her desk began to glow, whispering, "Do you desire revenge?" Scanning the room, she demands to know who's there, but a crystal voice replies that its identity is irrelevant. A sinister face appears, offering to grant her every wish. Yan Hui just asks if it's a TV drama witch. Insulted? The creature wonders if this girl has rocks for brains. It declares itself the #1 divine sword. Now shattered, help it recover, and it will grant her immortality. Without a second thought, Yanae screams yes, begging for the power of an immortal. In that moment, the strange entity unleashes its magic upon the girl. A purple crystal forms on her forehead as the monster orders her to open her mind for the fusion. But feeling no power, she asks what the spirit truly desires. Suddenly, the girl demands to learn hypnosis. The monster smirks, noting there are many such skills. In her mind, she imagines it. With this power, Lin Mo will finally be hers. Meanwhile, our protagonist rides in a taxi, knowing he can't use his powers recklessly until Yuang reveals her secrets. With a swift flick of his wrist, the boy sends a signal. Back at Yutong's house, the paper doll receives the message. Watching the scene, the girl realizes it's just a game. Was Utang a fake cultivator all along? How did she even reach this level? Utang is fuming, unable to believe she lost to some smelly oaf. Irritated, Lin Mo declares he'll now crush her in every single game. But Utang suddenly remembers something important. As she dashes out, Lin Mo wonders where she could be going. In her room, Utang quickly changes her outfit. Slipping into a suit, she decides this will have to do. She opens a closet, revealing an entire arsenal of weapons. The main character notes that even if it's all low grade, this gear is rare in the mortal world. As she starts to run, the doll leaps into her clothes, determined to finally uncover her secrets. A short while later, Utang arrives at a building, distracted by how good the protagonist's shampoo smelled. Inside, the girl silently approaches a specific door. Elsewhere, a toast is being made for the happy newlyweds. A wedding is in full swing, and it's time for the bride to give her speech. Taking the mic, the bride thanks everyone for coming on such short notice. Meanwhile, Yutong finds her seat, thinking she just has to wait for this whole charade to end. Moments later, the officiant declares the ceremony over. It's time for the party to begin.
Back with the newlyweds.
The bride asks if he's tired. He tells her not to worry. He just needs a quick outfit change and a drink. As they were talking, a figure approaches the couple. It's Yutong, standing right before them. The groom's face drains of color as he recognizes her. The bride asks him what's wrong. Yutong coldly states his wish has been granted, and now it's time to go. But the man snarls, "You think it's that easy, P?" As he transforms. In a flash, the young man becomes a monstrous werewolf. As he lunges, Yutong brandishes a talisman. She leaps over the attack, drawing her sword and striking down from above. With a single blow, he's slammed to the ground, gripping its neck. He thanks the girl as his head is severed from his body.
His horrified bride rushes to try and help the man.
Yutong thinks, "Sorry, but you'll never see him again." What a pathetic way to die. Reverting to human form, his wife cradles him, begging him not to die and screaming for an ambulance.
Filled with rage, the woman vows to kill Yutong. But she replies that the bride never knew her husband, an expert at draining women's energy.
He turned them into slaves, she explains. This was just business, nothing personal. She uses a talisman, erasing the memory of what they just witnessed. A moment later, the bride collapses. Making a call, Yutong reports the job is done, and that they should handle the cleanup. Suddenly, the paper doll falls from her clothes. Rushing to the body, Lin Mo recognizes a metamorphic fox incredibly useful. Lin Mo decides to save the fox, beginning a soul reincarnation ritual.
A golden aura from his paper doll rises toward the fox. The man's soul begins to be extracted from his former body.
The soul flows towards the doll, entering the paper figure with its arms crossed. The object transforms. Now sporting long silver hair, the tiny figure runs desperately for 20 minutes, reaching an outstretched hand. It belongs to our protagonist, waiting patiently outside the building. The fox's soul thinks it's over. He got his revenge, but he laments never being with his love again. A voice echoes his name, Chen Su. Offering a stark choice perish, or cling to life. Within the crushing void, his eyes snap open. He confesses his desire to see another dawn.
Unspoken words for Zhou Lin Yu burn within him. He would pay any price to escape this fate.
Our hero presents a contract and new life is for a mere 10 years of absolute servitude.
And so, purple eyes flutter open, revealing an adorable fox spirit with flowing silver hair.
He surveys the glowing ritual circle around him, his gaze landing on our silent protagonist. Shuchu is stunned by such profound magic. This youth, he's the strongest being he's ever encountered.
Overwhelmed, the small fox spirit kneels within the circle.
He announces himself as Chen Shuchu, vowing to serve his new master with profound gratitude. Lin Mo's first command is simple: explain this world's entire cultivation system. The fox eagerly agrees, asking for a starting point. Our hero wants the fundamentals of cultivation. The new apprentice explains the realm's scarce energy, forcing cultivators into hidden, secret domains. But even there, they're shackled, controlled by the iron grip of powerful clans. He confirms that without connections or a powerful background, joining a sect is an impossible dream. The clans welcome outsiders, but with a grim purpose to be used as cultivation furnaces, then discarded. Our hero quickly grasps the grim reality of this world's truly demonic form of cultivation. The fox confirms it's a result of the energy drought. The orthodox community relentlessly hunts these users. Our main character then asks, is the cultivator Xiaoyuang one of them? A small smile plays on the fox's lips. She's not only their top talent, but from the great Zhao family. He then probes about an immortal kingdom. But to this, the little fox has no answer. Suddenly, the fox spirit cries out, begging to visit his beloved during his 10-year servitude. Our hero surprisingly agrees. On one condition, he must never reveal his true form. Overjoyed, he can't believe his luck. Pleasing an immortal is surprisingly easy, he thinks. His tune changes the very next day, though, as he peeks out from inside a school backpack. His master is just a normal high schooler. Clearly, he must be the secret ruler of this institution. The fox notices all the girls staring, concluding his master must be incredibly popular. He must be the perfect man if I were a woman, the fox muses. I'd chase him too. But his mortal world knowledge is severely lacking. He can't help but misinterpret everything. As our hero reaches his desk, he senses something is off. Inside, he discovers a hidden stash of snacks. Lin Mo suspects they're from his annoying friend, Song Yun Shu. But his ex, Han Hui, appears, admitting she bought his favorites. Lin Mo is stunned. Just then, his cousin arrives, her eyes blazing with fury. She boldly claims our hero is her fiancé, so spoiling him is perfectly normal. The declaration leaves the other man fuming, with tears welling in his eyes. He moves to slap the girl, but Yan Hui catches his hand. Her grip is like iron as she tells the boy to back off. Our protagonist is shocked. His cousin would never hurt anyone. She gives a single warning, bother our boy again, and she will personally punish him. Defeated, the purple-haired boy flees the scene in tears, leaving the girl behind. She tells Lin Mo to call her if anyone causes trouble, promising to handle it for him. The other girls find it ironic. She's only interested now that he's had a handsome glow-up. Noon arrives, and the scene shifts to the bustling school cafeteria. A blue-haired girl alerts the blonde president that someone named Hai-Yane is stealing her man. The president scoffs, calling them idiots. She has no interest in the fat one. But then, a certain presence grabs her attention. It's the main character's ex wearing a smug, wicked smirk. She loudly calls out Lin Mo's name. She invites him to eat with her. The blue-haired girl senses a provocation, telling her friend to ignore it. But with chilling brutality, the blonde declares that if the protagonist gets in her way, she'll give him a beating. A flash of anger crosses our hero's face. He ends up leaving with his ex, who's sure she's won him back. He can't believe he lost his cool after years of cultivation. He still has much to learn. From inside his pocket, the little fox muses that its master is truly amazing. Even the great Zhao Yuang is getting jealous over him. Furious, the president asks if the boy really complained about her. Her friend just says to let it go. She can't just hit him. She decides to forget the fat one for now, thinking about how bold the other girl is being. Lin Mo finally reaches the school's ground floor. The dark-haired girl tells him to hurry up, a pastry in her hand. He senses immense hostility, guessing she's still mad about the day before. He sits and makes his first move. She knew he would make this game difficult for her, yet she had already devised a counter-strategy. Impressed, he acknowledges her skill at the game. Suddenly, his stomach rumbles loudly. He stares at her with a blank look, then opens his bag to reveal a lunchbox. In a flash, he breaks his chopsticks, ready to dig into the meal. She assumes it's a sign of respect, but he just says it's lunchtime.
She thinks that if he keeps eating like this, he'll be fat again in no time.
Then, a question pops into her head about the fat guy from the terrace. Our hero claims he's never seen anyone like that. Angrily, she says just thinking of that guy makes her ribs ache from his sheer weight. But her expression shifts to shock as she looks at her phone. It's a picture of our hero, posted in the girls' group chat. It hits her. The protagonist was the fat guy she met earlier. Her eyes turn red as she asks a question. Showing him the photo, she asks if he truly doesn't know this person. With incredible shamelessness, the protagonist says he's never seen anyone so huge. Annoyed, the girl calls him a terrible liar, but she understands he dislikes his past and drops it. She then pulls something from her bag. She reveals his washed jacket, noting it probably won't fit his new physique.
A light gleams in his eyes, taken aback by her gesture. He takes the jacket, completely stunned. Abruptly, the young woman stands up, declaring their match a tie and admitting he's very good.
Lin Mo informs her that few can match him, but she was one of the rare few who truly surprised him. The girl states that their fight is over. This sudden end leaves the protagonist silent, but then, with sudden conviction, he calls out her name. He proposes a best of 3 to settle the matter. With a bright smile, she accepts, introducing herself as Han Shinny. The name catches our protagonist off guard, making him pause and reflect for a moment. His little fox leaps from the bag in shock. Master, your charm is overwhelming. All the women are falling for you. But our hero cuts to the chase, asking, where do you get your evil cultivation resources? The little one quickly replies, they're from the Dark Door Network. The items are guarded by the Shadow Clan, who protect demonic cultivators and other families alike. But if you have enough money, they'll sell to anyone, even good-natured folks. This piques our hero's interest. He asks the fox how it earned its cash. The little fox mentions assassination missions, but adds, the quickest way is to find a sugar mommy. It insists his master wouldn't even need to work. A sugar mommy would be the perfect solution. A hand suddenly snatches the squirming fox. You should never have said such things. Lin Mo shoves the creature into his pocket, warning him that once they returned home, he'd research materials for making spiritual amulets. Night falls, casting a deep silence over the school. As he's about to leave, a blonde calls out, mistaking him for some fat guy she knows. Our hero tries to ignore her, but Zhao Tang snaps. Don't you dare pretend you can't see me.
She vents that her ex provoked her earlier, but our protagonist calmly states, Haiyan isn't my ex.
She dismisses his words, demanding he cooperate. I'm a respectable person. You're coming for a ride. He remains silent, his face an unreadable mask as he considers her offer. With a sly grin, she teases him. Can you get on by yourself, or do you need me to help? He finally relents and they approach the bike. Good boy, she says with a smirk. Lurking behind a pillar, jealous eyes watch them. How dare she touch my precious Lin Mo? Dark voice asks, why not just hypnotize him? But she insists she wants him to surrender willingly, body and soul. The two then tear out of the school grounds at high speed. Yutang, you're going too far, he yells over the engine. She just grins. So naive to trust a woman's words. He leans in close, asking suggestively. So, do you actually like me? Leaving her flustered. The motorcycle screeches to a sudden, dramatic stop.
With her face bright red, she sputters. Isn't it obvious I'm not interested? He presses on. So you really don't want me?
She frantically tries to refuse, so he simply accepts it. Fine, we're just classmates. So don't get too involved with me, he warns. Utang scoffs that men are lining up to date her. And if it weren't for their bet, she never would have given him a second glance. Tucked away in his pocket, the little fox is in awe. My master is truly full of surprises. How did he plant that paper doll on her, and with plain paper? Later, we find our hero back at his house. His mind is focused on the shadow door network. He calls his little companion, who hops onto the desk. His fingers dance across the keyboard as he declares, "I'm breaking into the shadow network right now." With one final powerful keystroke, he's in. But the fox has led him to a peculiar site. One for renting companions and other adult entertainment. Lin Mo questions if this is the right place. The fox insists. It is just go to the treasure page. He's found it, the true hidden world of cultivation. Here, even a low-grade immortal weapon is considered a supreme world-class treasure. What he needs are 1,000-year ginseng and immortal stones, but they cost over $100,000. His companion again suggests selling his photos to rich older women. But his master's face is pure stress. "Do I look that desperate to you?" our protagonist snaps. The little apprentice finally gets the hint. He then demands the fox's funds. The tiny creature admits he only has 30,000. "That will be enough," Lin Mo says, grabbing the mouse. The white-haired fox is skeptical, questioning if his master truly intends to craft talismans. Chen Shu suggests finding another way. Talismans fetch a good price, but are difficult to make with their low-quality materials. Our main character reveals his plan. He'll just craft some low-level talismans to sell. He tells her not to sweat the details. With that, he steps away from the conversation. He urges her to resume her training, while his apprentice scoffs at the cheap materials. He can only make useless junk with this. The next day, Lin Mo is in full disguise mask and all. A driver in a van pulls up, asking if he's the one expecting a delivery. He confirms with the code name, White Fox. The delivery guy hands over a box, asking for a 5-star review. Our hero is impressed by the speedy service and actually considers leaving a good rating. From his pocket, the fox explains the Dark Clan's network rivals even the great families. A few moments later, back at his desk, our protagonist stares down at 2 blank talisman papers. The little fox silently scoffs. Does he seriously think he can make those talismans? He's heard that masters train for years, and even then, their success rate is only 30%. Our hero simply sighs, closing his eyes. Then, his hand moves, a blur of motion across the paper. In an instant, he announces, "Dragon talisman, complete." The little fox's jaw drops. Impossible, 2 talismans in a flash. He could have sworn he saw a phantom dragon materialize. Our hero tells him to quiet down. They're just low-quality talismans, after all. It's a shame his spiritual power was only enough for 2. He sighs, needing more spirit stones. With no hesitation, Lin Mo lists the items, setting the price at a cool $500,000. He's barely posted it when the bids start skyrocketing, leaving him completely stunned. His companion explains that talismans are hot items, used by powerful cultivators and even regular people. That's what makes them premium goods. Suddenly, our hero feels something is amiss with his paper doll. Peeking through the doll's vision, he sees the blonde is also on the dark web, looking at something odd. With dark circles under her eyes, she looked utterly drained. She mutters that investigating a missing kid is exhausting, until an ad for a high-quality invisibility talisman catches her eye. She figures it's perfect timing, better to be prepared when facing an unknown demon. Our main character considers how useful a spiritual stone would be right now. Besides, a missing demon is highly unusual. He wonders if it's the venerable demon. The next day at school, during lunchtime, Lin Mo is heading upstairs when 3 punks block his path. They mock his new look, sneering that trash is still trash no matter the disguise. Our protagonist just stares back, his expression dark and completely unbothered. His ex-girlfriend thinks to herself that this hypnosis is providing a golden opportunity. But with a threatening glare, our hero coldly warns them to get out of his way. His arrogance just infuriates the group. The punks ask if Lin Mo has a death wish and decide to kill him on the spot. But before another insult can leave his lips, a huge hand grabs the loudmouth. In one swift, brutal motion, our boy slams the bully straight into the wall. The impact was so intense it instantly knocked him out. Then, annoyed, our protagonist glances to the side. Staring down the 2 remaining goons, he asks if they're also eager to die. His ex sees her chance to intervene and get him in her debt, but a black-haired girl beats her to it. "Stop bullying him," she yells. It's his board game friend, demanding to know what's going on. The battered boy starts crying fake tears, lying that they just wanted to be friends. But Lin Mo suddenly shoved him and broke his nose. The girl questions if that's the real story. A moment later, the ex internally curses the girl for stealing her heroic moment. She then fakes her arrival, asking if our hero is okay and that she ran over after hearing a commotion. She asks if the new girl helped and promises to treat her to lunch as thanks someday. Then she grabs our protagonist's hand, trying to lead him away from the scene. But promptly, the black-haired girl grabs his other arm, saying it's despicable for a woman to prey on a defenseless man. A venomous glare shot from her. She warned him to keep his distance, saying it was the best he could do. He simply told her to leave, as they were done. Yanhui, sensing her control slip, tried her hypnotic arts. But the spell shattered instantly, useless against our hero. Her demonic companion gave a grim warning. Use no more magic today. He had a very bad feeling about this. The dark-haired girl then brought up a rumor she'd heard about how the younger one had rejected him. She walked past, sneering that she pitied her, leaving the brown-haired girl frozen on the spot. Shaking with absolute fury, she fumed about that insufferable girl and called our hero a shameless mutt for defying her. Later, after his classes, our main character was back home, sitting at his computer with his small companion. Chinuchu suddenly announced that a buyer offered 2 spirit stones and a mountain of cash. Now, this was a client who clearly meant business. Our hero guessed the offer came from the blonde girl. He wondered if she was with the Phoenix Guild. Sensing a trap, Lin Mo recalled that Phoenix hunts down evil cultivators, so they should have no reason to target him.
But the little fox explained a trap was pointless, as the Dark Portal Network already purges evil cultivators with Phoenix's help.
Just then, a notification pinged his screen. The meeting point was Fangtong Station, a completely ordinary-looking place. Still, to be safe, he went in his usual disguise. His little fox was baffled, since the website's delivery was completely secure. The next day, after class, the package arrived safely. After a 200,000 commission, he was left with 700,000 and the spirit stones. Even so, he couldn't believe how shoddy the item quality in this world was. Our hero absorbed the materials in one go. He smirked, knowing he could at least recover some spiritual power. He then took out 2 talismans he'd crafted, unleashing a massive dragon from the papers. The main character told his companion to sell both on the Dark Portal Network, and the fox quickly agreed. Comments flooded in, praising the mysterious master who had created such incredible talismans. Lin Mo thought to himself that this world was truly backward when it came to cultivation. It was bizarre seeing them so hyped over a basic level 1 talisman. Suddenly, his companion gasped as a bid for 3 million appeared. A moment later, it jumped to 4 million. In a high-tech room somewhere, a man yelled, "Are you crazy? Over 3 million for a level 1 talisman?" In a flash,
A voice on the comms replied that the last invisibility talisman wasn't normal, which is why they had to find the maker.
at the blonde girl's mansion, she glared at her state-of-the-art monitor, her irritation steadily growing. With a decisive click, Yu-Tang raised the bid by another 1 million. Our hero just watched the prices soar, arms crossed, and had to muffle his companion's excited squeals. In an instant, the offer shot up to 15 million in cash. The chat filled with proposals for our hero, with many people begging for a chance to meet him. Our hero knew this was getting dangerous. He decided to disappear before every cultivator in the world came looking for him. But first, he'd get his payout. He decided to check in on the blonde girl from the auction. A short while later, we see inside the girl's house. Our hero noticed she was still investigating the missing boys case, which seemed connected to the Demon King. Looking at her screen, he saw that Yu-Tang was conducting real-time surveillance. At the same time, our boy felt a bit awkward. He never knew she had this kind of hobby. She recoiled at the screen and slammed her desk, yelling, "This guy is hideous. Even his hairstyle is a disaster." The poor guy on screen immediately started searching for tips on how to look better in photos. He hoped for a miracle. Even looking up the most eccentric and bizarre filters, other options were considered, including plastic surgery and facial harmonization. But it offered more perfect abs, model legs, and a total ban on love handles. Our dear Tang couldn't take this on-screen horror anymore. She finally admits it. This guy is even worse than the fat one. A little while later, it's lunchtime at the school.
Our hero hears the blonde girl's random chatter until someone in front of him grabs his attention.
It's the dark-haired girl, asking if he wants a match. If not, she says, that's fine. She hates an easy victory. A tense silence falls as our hero studies the game board. He quickly claims he's not feeling well and decides to make his exit. He hates admitting defeat, but he won't take advantage of the situation either. Our main character heads for the edge of the terrace. He goes up for some air, mulling it over. To gain yang power, he needs to create a formation. And the strongest ones are always evil. If only Lin Mo had some tea, his plan just might work. The girl warns him not to fall off. He just flashes a smile in return. He hums softly, walking toward her. But Haiyan Hui, watching in secret, gets even more annoyed. As he leaves the terrace, he's stopped. It's the brown-haired girl, and she looks absolutely furious. Our hero immediately asks what her problem is. She glares, about to speak, but his companion, Hansney, tells her to stop bothering him. The brown-haired girl fires back, warning her not to touch her man, who is hers down to his last tooth. Hai Yanhui turns, promising the girl will soon face a very painful end. Lin Mo watches her storm off, wondering, since when was I ever hers? Later that night, at his ex-girlfriend's house, she showers, stressed, admitting she completely underestimated our hero. Yanhai realizes she should have gone after him from the very start. But now, she vows, this time he will be completely hers, no matter what. With a psychotic grin, she declares her plan hypnotize him tonight and make him her obedient little puppy. Her sinister aura travels through the air, reaching our main character's house. This purple energy nears him in his sleep, but a barrier of his own energy appears. It blocks the attack completely. His little companion wakes up, sensing the foul play, wondering what could be tormenting him. Suddenly, Lin Mo recognizes it as remote hypnosis. He scoffs. Someone in this world trying to hypnotize this emperor? How amusing. The next day at school, the brown-haired girl stands before him, blocking his path, her eyes gleaming with malice. She tells him to get ready and come to her house tonight. She fantasizes about kissing him, growing more desperate for the night to finally arrive.
A psycho grin spreads across her face. She really thinks she hypnotized him and that he'll be completely obedient. Meanwhile, our main character just strolls on by, unbothered.
He smirks, knowing it was her last night. Turns out, our hero cleverly planted a paper doll on her back. His consciousness was linked to the doll, which gives him a sly little smile. Later, we see him in the classroom when something suddenly catches his attention. It was the paper doll on his ex's back, which had just vanished. The reason the girl found the tiny spy and obliterated it with demonic purple flames, her inner demon calls her pathetic for not even realizing she was being watched. Sweating and tense, Yane wonders who could suspect her enough to spy on her. Her demon companion warns that it doesn't matter who it is. She can't let them ruin her grand plan.
After school, our hero leaves, thinking, the doll's destroyer might be connected to the venerable demon.
But with so many cultivators around, he can't be rash. It might be time to check out the Phoenix group. And if his timing is perfect, the blonde girl should be passing by, right about now. In this world, the move he's about to make has a very specific name. Being called a fraud startles the ex, just as she realizes she literally ran over the protagonist. The blonde screeches her motorcycle to a halt as our boy tumbles to the ground from the impact. "Why'd you run out without looking?" she asks, cradling him and offering to go to the hospital. But the boy just stands up with completely empty eyes, leaving her baffled. With a devilish smirk, Lin Mo declares he's finally learned how to be evil in this world. The blonde wonders what's wrong with him and tries to pull him back. But he reveals his plan. He's going to his ex's house tonight.
He says the girl is waiting for him for a special night, leaving her utterly shocked.
This is completely out of character for him. Surprise washes over her face as she pieces things together. She tries to call out to him, telling him to snap out of it, but he just walks past, leaving her speechless. Wutong wonders if the fatty really got hypnotized, preparing a gesture to break the spell. She draws a star in the air with her fingers, pressing her hand against the boy's forehead. The light in his eyes, which had vanished, flickers back for a moment before disappearing again. She realizes it had no effect. The spellcaster must be incredibly powerful. Without hesitating, our beauty decides to use the Ghost Redemption seal. She lands a heavy, magical palm on his forehead, seemingly snapping him back to his senses. He clutches his head, asking what happened and why he's there. The blonde says she was about to ask him the same thing. He smirks, asking what her fiancé has to do with anything.
Blushing furiously, the girl stammers that he just appeared and got hit by her motorcycle.
So, for that reason, he must accompany her to the hospital. Wutong is baffled by his casual tone, but he refuses. If she feels guilty, she can just pay him later. Enraged, she grabs his collar, making him choke. Then she shoves a paper in his face. She declares she'll write a check, so she won't have to deal with a future lawsuit from him. He can spend the money however he pleases, she snarls. But if he uses it against her, he'll regret it. Lin Mo just wonders if a few extra zeros could buy some spiritual storage units. With that final threat, she speeds away on her bike. Yang states they need all data on the main character's ex. Her helmet comm confirms she's a suspect. And so, she arrives at the house of the boy's obsessive suitor. She gracefully removes her helmet. Her special ring glows, materializing her magical sword in an instant. Her method of entry, slicing the doorknob into pieces. The cuts are so clean the door falls away, but the knob hangs there, suspended in midair. She enters, noticing photos not of family, but of two boys who seem to be her friends. Reaching the ex's room, she realizes the girl is a stalker. Thousands of his photos adorn the walls. She even finds several strange manuals about him, and decides to investigate further. She slowly flips through the pages, her face turning crimson at the sheer indecency inside. "This is utterly perverted," she mutters, right before her communicator buzzes about a new problem. The message is clear. Hai Yanhui has vanished under extremely suspicious circumstances. Looking over the girl's insane plans, it's obvious.
She's almost certainly involved in the disappearances. She tells her team to issue a missing person notice.
Afterwards, she thinks that Hai Yanhui is quite clever to devise such a plan so quickly. Back at our hero's home, the knight finishes securing the location. He thinks his ex is surely linked to the venerable demon. The Phoenix group must prioritize her. Then, a sudden noise grabs his attention. It's his cousin, asking if he's watched the news lately. Immediately, our boy swings the door open. The purple-haired kid shouts that he's a wanted man, but our hero plays dumb, vowing to stay away from her. Lin tries to argue, but gets a door slammed in his face for his trouble. Through the door, the young man yells at him to at least check the news. Our protagonist sees it. Hai Yanhui from Fangxiang Institute is a suspect in an abuse case and is wanted nationwide. He thinks the search team is surprisingly efficient, but there's still no sign of the girl. The little fox scoffs. What a cruel, foolish woman to dare and cross her master. Lin Mo knows that to absorb a young man's yang power, the venerable demon will use an evil formation. He quickly crouches and starts digging through a box.
The little fox wonders what he is searching for, then sees a familiar glint in his expression.
She's even more confused when he pulls out what look like normal wooden boards. Our hero sighs, then focuses all his energy into the 2 pieces of wood. They instantly begin to break apart and reform into a new, intricate shape. It's a wooden compass. The fox is shocked he could craft such an ancient tool so quickly. Our hero knows the Phoenix group will never find her with the demon's power. Unless, of course, they use this compass to track the evil energy. He begins to merge the 2 items. He's creating a kind of spiritual radar. A huge energy burst makes the little fox shriek in surprise.
The light artifact is now heavy with power, having merged with a low-level spirit stone.
The fox is stunned by the incredible sight. Slowly, the spoon-like needle begins to move. The little spirit was in awe of her master's power. That simple board was a perfect spiritual radar. Our hero then handed the device to the little fox, who accepted without a second thought. She then asked her master what made this compass so special. He explained it simply. It finds the densest pockets of yin energy in the city. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his eye, and he froze in place. "Hide," he commanded the little fox, who instantly vanished. He watched the window, dead silent, until a blonde with a goofy grin appeared, leaving him baffled.
Her strangely excited expression made his skin crawl with awkwardness.
With his phone in his hand, his first instinct was to call the police. But she shouted, "Open up and don't try anything weird." She apologized, insisting her actions were necessary. He demanded to know what she was doing there, but she dismissed him, asking where he was injured. He immediately figured she suspected him. Thankfully, he hadn't healed yet, so his scars were still visible proof.
He reveals a gash on his arm and another on his leg.
Without hesitation, the girl hikes up her pants, showing off her own tiny scratch. Flustered, he sputters, asking what on earth she thinks she's doing.
Tang simply states she's cleaning the wounds, or else she'd be to blame for any scars.
She muses that the once chubby guy now has the most gorgeous legs she's ever seen. Your fox scoffs internally, thinking, give an inch and she takes the whole leg. Clearly, she's taking full advantage. He pulls down his pants, sighing that he never thought she'd stoop so low. But the girl's playful mood vanishes, as she asks what Hani told him before she disappeared. Our hero admits that after meeting her, his memory is a complete blank. With that, she hops to the window, declaring the whole thing useless and preparing to leave.
But he's just left wondering, why not just use the door? Playing it safe, Lin Mo tells her to hold on. He then makes a bold offer he will act as the bait.
Instantly, the girl's face flushes beet red. She'd clearly seen something she shouldn't have. And that something was our hero's perfectly defined chest, visible through his shirt. She leaps from the balcony, accepting his deal. But he can't help but think she agreed way too fast. The next morning, our hero arrives at school. He strolls into his classroom with an epic swagger. The girls rush over, worried sick. They heard Yan Hei is a total monster and fear for his safety. But our protagonist, cool as ever, says he's fine and tells them to get out of his way. Suddenly, a girl rushes in, telling everyone a super handsome guy just transferred to their class. Instantly, all the girls make a move,
swarming the location to get a look at this new student. Girls surround the green-haired boy, asking for his name.
He smoothly introduces himself as Shen Laton, adding that they can just call him Lei. But then, a flash of blonde hair grabs his attention. The girls convince him to join them at the main entrance, and he quickly agrees. Our boy with a secret agenda reveals he's here to investigate Haiyan Hui, but didn't expect to find such a beauty. But just then, he's shocked to see her plant her foot on the door. She then delivers a kick that sends it flying off its hinges. She immediately yells for her companion not to leave the school before she does. The green-haired boy is completely baffled, trying to calculate if her beauty outweighs her apparent insanity. After classes end, the sun starts to set over the school.
Our protagonist makes his usual flamboyant exit. The blonde was waiting outside and tells Lin Mo to come with her.
The two of them begin walking down the now silent school corridor. We see he's been led to the infirmary, so they can finally be alone. He declares that he's already healed. If she touches his leg again, he'll have to restrain her until the authorities arrive. But the girl couldn't care less. She asks our hero to examine a certain document. She claims a relative in the police found a diary at Haiyan Hui's house on how to care for him, which is a complete fabrication. Though he's seen it before, he's still shocked by the questionable fetishes detailed inside. The girl blushes, saying the plan seems to involve observing men and then taking them home. And it appears Lin Mo was one of the targets. But our hero just calls her a pervert, wishing he'd known earlier so he could have prepared for this. The blonde then reveals they searched the entire country for her, yet they couldn't find a single trace, not even in her usual spots.
Our hero removes his glasses, recalling that Yan Hei always loved scary places as a child. She's likely hiding in one now.
As for why no one saw her, she must have used some kind of makeup to disguise herself. He says all this while striking a cool pose, to which the girl says he doesn't need to play detective. Yang realizes it all makes perfect sense. She must have used a disguise to hide.
She notes Hai Yanhui's love for dark places, likely where she took young boys to practice her evil arts.
The girl then says that's all for today, and our hero must leave immediately. He just flashes a devilish grin at her words.
Soon we see him in his house, looking completely unguarded.
He's given her the clues. Now Xiao Yu Tang will buy a magic weapon online to find the yin energy. He then calls for his apprentice.
Our main character asks him to auction an item on the dark door. It's a compass he crafted in seconds. The fox understands and starts typing with incredible speed.
He decides to set the starting price at 10,000 in cash and immediately posts it. He then tells his master that the auction is live, and it's just a matter of waiting for the results. Chen Shushu sees the price rising at an absurd rate, as if it were a legendary item. In a flash, 10,000 cash becomes 5 million. At the same time, we see the blonde, Xiao Yutong, at her home. She sees the price has already hit 5 million and is still climbing nonstop. With a sly smile, she scoffs that these people love to show off money, but they have nothing compared to her. Our hero uses his observation skill and sees Xiao Yutong is indeed bidding with extreme passion. It seems she's about to win the item, which will let her track down our protagonist's dear ex.
Without warning, the price hits the incredible mark of 10 million.
The little fox is amazed that it reached such a surreal amount so quickly, wondering how many rich women have this much cash. The next day, we see the blonde gathered with several other women, and an old woman holding a cane. She reveals this very spot has the most potent yin energy. The elder marvels at the treasure, its powerful yin signature detectable from miles away. It must be exceptionally rare.
Our girl now gets it. This woman is a hired specialist, and praise from her is a rare honor indeed. With a twist, her cane becomes a weapon. She announces she'll scout ahead and tells them to wait.
But as the elder crept forward, a monstrous green hand erupts before her. A massive blast detonates. A perfectly timed counter from the old master.
Our protagonist watches the chaos unfold through his paper doll.
He watches, his tension mounting. That formation was unbreakable. Was that some modern tech from her ring? He realizes it's an item unheard of in this world. Something completely beyond his own comprehension. But then, his wall explodes inward. A ridiculously buff woman barges in, carrying his cousin. He's shocked to see her radiating a sinister green aura.
The little fox yelps to her master, saying that woman has also broken his cousin.
Lin Mo replies that he's well aware, telling the fox to stay put. He's thought this through, and some lines can't be crossed.
It appears
Hayani has hypnotized them to kidnap him. But with the Phoenix Squad occupied, his ex wouldn't risk coming here herself. As a fist flies toward him, he remains calm, sensing a much larger scheme at play. This must be Yanhui's trap, using him as bait to lure out the Phoenix Squad. All he needs to do is wait and make Yanhui regret this. He had already shielded himself with aura, staying conscious. The woman drags both cousins to a shady white van waiting outside for them. She violently shoves the two, bags still on their heads, right into the car. She speeds off, driving recklessly through the city. Soon, they arrive at an abandoned factory, his ex's likely hideout. The woman then yanks the bag off our hero's head.
With a sadistic grin, she feigns surprise at seeing him, a performance that isn't fooling anyone.
She asks if he's surprised to see her, with a wicked smile. Lin Mo agrees he is, a perfectly aimed insult. His arrogant tone makes her eye twitch with absolute fury. Slamming him against the wall, she snarls, amazed he has the guts to speak to her that way.
Lin Mo coldly warns her not to get any closer.
Unbuttoning her blouse, she mocks his tough act, wondering if Xiao Yutong or Han Shinny got to him first. Her inner demon warns that the blonde has broken the formation and is heading here fast. Yan Hui needs to finish this now. A wicked grin spreads across her face. True, she says. The Emperor is waiting for his special delivery. She tells the main character to wait patiently. She'll return after testing the Emperor.
Our boy grows tense in the dark, dripping cell. Is the demonic sword or the venerable demon whispering to her?
A short while later, we see his cousin somehow sleeping soundly. That is, until he jerks awake in a panic, begging not to be killed or abused. Looking around frantically, he pleads for his life, before finally asking where on earth he is.
Elsewhere, the others survey the massive crater left by the Elder's powerful attack.
The blonde now understands Yan Hui's clever plan, using the formation to create a yin energy hotspot. They must follow the compass's new heading, and fast, or the people in the area may already be dead.
A green demon materializes before them, cackling as it asks where they think they are going.
Suddenly, a massive explosion sends them all flying back.
With a wicked laugh, this flame demon declares they will all perish. The scene shows the forest where it was summoned.
A deer, grazing peacefully in the tranquil woods, suddenly freezes in place. It's startled for a moment, right before a huge green explosion rips through the ground.
Smoke billows out, thick with a colossal and terrifying aura. The demon, summoning blades, vows none will escape its wrath.
It directs its assault at the blonde, screaming for her to go to hell while laughing maniacally. As the deadly strikes converged, the elder shielded the girl from harm. I will handle this demon, the elder declared. Get Miss Xiao to safety. Her life is too precious to lose here. The arrogant spirit scoffed. You really think you can face me alone? "None of you are leaving this place alive," he roared, his many arms weaving intricate seals. "I'll bury you all today," he bellowed, unleashing a massive formation that descended upon the group. The elder's eyes widened in horror. "It's the Soul Devourer formation. Protect yourselves with your aura," now she screamed. But for one woman, it was too late as her body ignited in agony. Her chilling screams echoed as her flesh and life force simply melted away. The blonde watched, paralyzed by the gruesome horror unfolding before her eyes. Snapping out of it, she summoned a unique bow and an energy arrow from her storage ring. Drawing the string taut, she resolved. "A special case like this calls for a ranged attack."
"I'm aiming for its face," she announced. "It's our only chance to escape."
Her arrow curved impossibly, hitting the demon's face in a huge blast. But the monster just laughed. "Is that all you've got?" the elder warned. "The formation is draining our energy. Our attacks won't even scratch it." Suddenly, the spirit's mouth began to swell with a dark, ominous power. It spewed a thick, dense smoke. Xiao Tang realized with dread it was resurrecting the corpses. Her fallen companion lurched to its feet, moving like a grotesque puppet. With shocking speed, the corpse lunged. Thinking fast, the blonde summoned an item from her ring. A sharp blade appeared, cleaving the zombified woman cleanly in two. "I'll handle the poison gas," the elder yelled. "You deal with those blood puppets." Her companions were beyond saving. Yet, through the haze, she could still see the faces of her friends. Stealing her heart, a swift slash from her sword finally put the monster to rest. With one puppet left, she launched herself into the air for a finishing blow. But then, a dead voice called her name. She froze, hesitating. Had her friend returned? It was a cruel trick. The monster struck, its claws tearing through her abdomen. The searing pain hit her as she coughed up a mouthful of blood. Fury burned through her agony. She gripped her sword, ending it with a final X-shaped slash. But the wound was severe. Blood dripped from her lips and sighed as she collapsed to the cold ground. Her sword dissolved into the rain as she choked. This was more than just blood puppets. Consumed by regret, she wondered. Did the elder survive? I shouldn't have brought them here. Just then, two hypnotized figures appeared, watching her fall as one of them drew a knife. The elder screamed the blonde's name in desperation. The spirit slammed her barrier. "How dare you look away?" it taunted. "Let's see how long your little turtle shell lasts."
Helpless on the ground, the blonde whispered, "My fault. I dragged her into this."
The knife flew through the air, aimed directly for her life.
A curse escaped her lips as a spray of fresh blood filled the air.
But the knife missed, clattering harmlessly. The attacker's head had been torn clean from their shoulders.
Calm voice stated, "I felt your vitality fading, so I rushed over."
It was Zhao Hongling, leader of the Phoenix group. "It's not your time to die, Yutang." Yutang recognized her, as the second man stared, just before his head also went flying. "Grandma Hongling!" the blonde cried. The elder gasped. The legendary Miss Hongling was actually on the scene. The demon cackled. "This little girl is the best reinforcement you could find. You're a mere mortal," the spirit sneered. "You cannot fight a divine sword fragment. Not even the Emperor himself could stand against me," it boasted loudly. That insolent mouth was promptly shut by a swift attack from Hongling. In a single flash, she shattered the demon's formation. The blonde was stunned. One strike was all it took. Her grandmother was truly on another level. The youthful-looking granny pointed out the injury. "If you'd gone all out, you wouldn't be this hurt." She then offered a small vial. "Here, drink this, quickly." The girl obeyed, then looked up with pleading eyes. "Grandma, can you find my missing friend?" She explained the target was our main character. He must be saved. The elder simply nodded, saying she knew. "Don't worry, just focus on resting." Our girl was confused. Right before her vision blurred, as she passed out, the young one called out, "Old woman?" An immediate response came. The old woman wasted no time asking. "So, where is this friend she mentioned?" The elder had a theory. "My Utangs indicate he's in a place with overwhelming yin energy."
With her sword already in hand, the old woman grinned. "Say no more, that's all I need."
She then boasted with confidence. "I can find the place with the most yin." Hilariously, her sword began to float up, only to wobble and fall in a ridiculous manner. She barked orders to the others. "Get her to HQ, treat her wounds." The elder would handle the high yin location. With a final word, she darted off. "See you all later."
We cut to an abandoned factory, where our hero is trapped. His demon-possessed ex began a dark ritual.
The fox spirit watched beside our protagonist. "What in the world is she doing?" Our main character explained grimly. "She's absorbing yang energy from those men to get stronger, aging them in the process." Suddenly, an immense power flared nearby. "Who dares interrupt me? Outside!" The blonde's grandmother had just arrived. She kicked the door open with a bored look on her face. The demoness sneered. "What's a little girl doing here? Are you lost? Or just looking to get hurt?" The granny just called the demon Auntie and announced, "That little bastard is in here. The X's face was a mask of pure confusion. Inside it, the little fox fretted. Is it really okay to leave him unconscious like that? But our protagonist was calm. Don't worry, he's tough. That's when a massive explosion rocked the building. Something shot from the doorway like a cannonball, crashing hard against the far wall. It was the protagonist's ex-girlfriend, now impaled by the granny's enormous sword. The floating granny smirked down at her. We're just getting started, so don't you dare complain. Yan Hui? Casually sitting on her sword, she taunted. Well, aren't you going to respond? The ex was completely blindsided by this. The granny sighed. Come on, at least try to fight back a little. With hands glowing with green energy, the ex ripped the sword from her chest, cursing as she flung it upwards. The granny simply floated there, looking entertained. This was clearly just a game to her. The ex threw the sword back with a scream. Go to hell, you brat! The attack was unbelievably powerful.
Still, the wound in her chest throbbed painfully, while her shirt struggled heroically with its heavy burden.
She wondered frantically, who is this brat? Atop her sword. The granny yawned. Is that all? I thought this was a real fight? In a panic, the ex called out to her inner demon. What do I do? I'm no match for her. But she received no answer, only silence. We flash back to one day ago, where our hero's friend stared at her past self. The strange connection made them both uncomfortable. Until the girl finally broke the silence with a sigh. She admitted she was tense. This is game number 146, and it has just begun. But then, something sharp invaded her thoughts, seizing her attention. It was a powerful chai from a demonic sword. We cut to a lonely cabin, deep in an isolated forest.
A boy struggled in a demon's grasp, yelling, Let me go! Do you have any idea who I am?
He declared his status proudly. I am a member of the Celestial Demon Sect. The demon was completely unimpressed. Ah, yes, the Celestial Demon Sect. A sect that will make for excellent fertilizer. It won't be difficult for me to massacre you all. Tears formed in the boy's eyes. This chi was overwhelming. He prayed for help. Then, the cabin door exploded inward. A massive cloud of dust and splinters billowed from the newly formed entrance. Suddenly, an elegant leg steps into view. A new woman has arrived. Her foot slams down, an imposing threat. The spirit feels it immediately. This energy is on another level. Before him stands none other than his long-awaited mistress. Tears streaming, he wails her name and rushes forward. But she just shoves him back with her foot, telling him to stop the drama, which he instantly does. She recognizes him as the demon aligned with Hai Yan Hui. He confirms it, thinking that this familiar sensation of being stepped on truly belongs to his master. Just then, the girl heard a cry for help. It's the boy from before, who boasts he's the son of the Celestial Demon Sect's patriarch. He must be freed, and he'll grant her any wish. The boy brags that his sect cultivates magic and is as powerful as the Phoenix group. This piques her interest, and she approaches, sitting on the demon. She remarks she doesn't need men, only obedient dogs.
She orders the flame spirit to keep the boy alive, calling him a good lad. The spirit confirms.
The green-haired boy gives thanks for his life, but his eyes are completely empty.
He declares that since his life was spared, he will now become her slave.
However, he promptly falls asleep, enraging the demon who scolds him for being disrespectful to his master. The spirit then explains his grand plan using Hai Yan Hui as a host to restore his power. He's currently hiding in an old factory and estimates he'll recover his strength in less than 10 days. She asks if Hai Yan Hui is fully under his control. He affirms it, calling her a lustful and easily manipulated woman.
Our lady states it's not the best plan, but it'll do. Besides, she needs to hunt down someone named Lin Mo.
Han Shinny then reveals there's a game in play. She cannot allow her other challenger to be harmed, and the demon understands. The spirit then urges that his mistress should get the fragments as soon as possible, as things are getting worse every second. But the girl insists there's no need to hurry, because the Emperor has also arrived in this world. This leaves the demon stunned. She explains that the memories between the demon sword's fragments are not connected. Some time ago, she felt the presence of a fragment, but just as she was about to reach it, the sword's aura was snuffed out by a stronger one, a presence she had only felt from the Emperor in 1,000 years. The demon figures they can use Hei Yan Hai as bait to draw out the Emperor. He then orders her to kill the brat. She wonders how she could possibly do that, having never fought and knowing nothing of combat. Just then, the younger girl decides to use her secret sword technique, and the protagonist's ex insists she doesn't even know how to begin fighting. With that, the demon declares her useless and decides to take full control of the body. Her pupils warp unnaturally as he says this is all quite special. Since the host is a waste, he won't let her live. With a wicked laugh, the spirit advances in the girl's body, but suddenly a sword flies into his back, his bizarre smile never fading. Instantly, the spirit deflects the sword with a sidekick, laughing as he snatches the weapon for himself. Tossing the blade, he taunts, "Does Grandma enjoy flying swords?" He then launches the second one, saying he'll return it since she likes silly games.
The young lady protects herself with a purple spiritual barrier, redirecting the attacks elsewhere.
The demon then summons an artifact, announcing he has a second little gift for her. It's a gigantic viper, lunging toward the young woman all at once. The girl is impressed, recognizing a lost secret technique, but notes that its power is far less than described in the scrolls. The snake prepares a fatal strike, but the girl says that now that Yanhui is angry, it will be much easier to defeat her. With her sword ready, she says if she weren't always crying, she'd be ashamed to win in one blow. Due to its weakness, the snake bites down only to receive a deep slice across its mouth. It's split apart by a massive blow from the girl, who sends its head flying high. The serpent's enormous energy blast flew toward the sky. Its form started dissolving, its technique completely broken.
High in the sky, we see a figure observing the entire scene. And our hero's demonic sidekick watches this whole mess in her true form.
The ex-girlfriend's face twists as the spirit is finally ripped from her body.
All that purple energy gathers into one spot, forging a shard of the demon girl's lost sword.
The old woman, now looking younger, scoffs that she's ditching this useless host. She never imagined it would be a sword, let alone a measly broken one. Her disappointment turns to fear when the sword itself gets offended by her insult. Our hero's companion sneers, calling her shameless for bullying the weak. She warns her to be more careful. Sweating, the girl recognizes the chi of a high-level demon.
Her breath catches in her throat as the immense pressure bears down on her.
Turning slowly, she witnesses a terrifying scene, suffocated by the overwhelming power gap. Staring at the figure above her, the grandma can only tremble in absolute terror. The horned demoness scoffs at her audacity for daring to stare so boldly. In a flash of pure speed, the demoness vanishes from above the old woman. Sword in hand, she notes that the old hag had been suppressing its chi. She desperately unleashes her purple energy, trying to counterattack the demon. She invokes the 8th level Taoist sealing technique, as pink ribbons envelop her opponent. But through the ribbons, a menacing glare shows just how unimpressed the demoness is. As the spell completes, the ribbons turn orange, her nails digging in to finalize the seal. The grandma borrows 10,000 talismans from the 8 directions to power her technique. She plans to suppress this evil and seal the demon away for good. And yet, a pink energy starts to leak from within the enormous seal. Still nervous, she adds 4 celestial flames, invoking the red lotus seal from the sky. With the demon sealed, she vows that the law of equality will make all demons cower. She combines her arts, preparing to unleash her ultimate final spell. An energy Buddha clasps its hands, weeping. When suddenly, a crack appears. The massive statue begins to crumble from the immense power of the one sealed inside. This wasn't supposed to happen. It's impossible. A red light explodes from the figure. She'd heard Hong Ling was the strongest fighter, that no one could surpass her. But she is not impressed by this so-called strongest. It's time to end the brat's fun. Apprehensive, she insists it's not over. But the demoness is already beside her, curious what isn't over yet. That's when she feels the deep slice across her stomach. The demoness whispers, "When I say it's over, it is truly over." She then continues on her way, as the poor, defeated redhead falls to the ground. She laments to her master that this body is too weak to use even a fraction of her power. Bleeding out and in a cold sweat, the girl desperately reaches for something. She needs to get her blade back. She finally realizes it won't appear on its own. The well-built demoness glances back, seeing the blade flying right for her. But she's not impressed. She simply prepares to deflect it with her own weapon. The other blade was like butter against her sword. She just wanted to test Tang's intent. What a shame that she's so useless. She can't even serve as a proper test. She sighs, frustrated by the easy challenge. Then she calls for the immortal emperor. Surely he's seen enough. It's time for him to come out of hiding. She taunts him, calling him a coward like all men of this world, a mediocre ruler. If that's the case, it is simply disgusting. Starting with that short girl over there. She shouts once more, making sure everyone hiding can hear her loud and clear. If she's not stopped, she'll give everyone a one-way ticket to the afterlife. They'd better act fast, because she's counting to 3. One girl covers her mouth, stifling a scream. The boy in the cage doesn't move a muscle. The demonic girl starts her countdown. A single drop of water falls on his head. He seems completely zoned out, until he snaps back to reality. 2 seconds had already gone by. A desperate scream rips through the air, begging not to be sent to the next world. On the ground, a small figure writhes in pain. The silver-haired girl is still frozen in terror. Meanwhile, the demon woman just smiles at the show. But their time was up. The countdown ends, and a massive pillar of energy shoots toward the heavens. The area was now the epicenter of an immense power. A swirling vortex of energy had formed. Its light was so blindingly bright, everyone had to shield their eyes. Finally, the one she was waiting for had appeared. This proved it. The immortal emperor was still alive. Far from the scene, someone films the sky. He tells the stream a light pillar just appeared at the abandoned factory. Even on a cold day, the heat from the light is intense, strong enough to push back the rain. Getting anxious, he grabs the phone from the person filming. He shows how the light has parted the clouds. Maybe it's some kind of satellite weapon. Just then, he spots something emerging from the clouds, and someone was watching their live stream. As lightning flashed, the signal vanished, sparking her irritation. Inside, the age-old lecture begins about homework versus phone time. That lightning pillar struck way over in Hengxi, Lin Mo's current town. First the hunt for Yanhe, now this. The day had been anything but calm. And as she opened the door, the emperor shoved the demon woman through, face first. Even after they vanished, a strange wind still whipped through the room. When it settles, the window is completely shattered. The girl has absolutely no clue what just happened. They basically just phased through the entire building. The demoness sneers that without his sacred sword, he's like a grandpa without his little blue pill, totally useless. She lands a heavy blow, calling him nothing but a punching bag. He's sent rocketing to the ground, taking out structures nearby. Still not satisfied, she starts condensing a terrifying aura. You know what that means, a massive attack is brewing. She begins an incantation, a classic villain move. Her dark power rips the sky open as a strange shape takes form above. And from within the clouds, two enormous eyes begin to appear. It's a colossal serpent-like creature, its jaws unhinge, blasting an energy beam toward the immortal emperor. Up high, she can't believe it. He didn't even try to dodge that attack. But her victory is cut short. He's completely unharmed. She never expected his ridiculously strong protective seal. This is just not fair. He knew demon kings were cruel, but their descendants are worse. Sacrificing innocence without a thought. Looking at her, he knows the rotten apple doesn't fall far from the demonic tree. Oh, that made her furious, as if a nobody like him could ever judge her family's business. The serpent aims a massive blast right at the city. She doesn't care about the people, as long as he dies. It's fine. Its mouth shuts, gathering even more energy. Then a continuous beam erupts, tearing a line straight through the city. In the beam's wake, only total destruction remains, and the fires that follow burn without end. From high above, the demon queen surveys her masterpiece of destruction. She smiles. His defense is finally cracking. Now for his counter. As energy gathers on just 2 fingers, his fingers move with a delicate grace that startles her. That movement, she recognizes it. It's a sword technique. The moment she realizes, it's too late. The serpent is hit. She looks over and sees the devastating wound. After all this time, a sword finally appears in his hand. Now the real fight can begin. A decent sword embryo, she muses. Worth the delay. Then she realizes he slapped a tracking seal on her sword and made her expose her own weakness. But his clever plan means nothing if that piece of trash he's holding can't even be used. He traces a circle with his blade, preparing his art. Then, with a final motion, he unleashes a devastating downward cut. A secret technique, the divine fire refinement. She smirks. Pleased? He always keeps things interesting. The two opposing powers crash into one another. They become blurs, clashing across the sky at blinding speed. But reacting instantly, she catches him off guard and lands a clean cut. Yet, even wounded, he smiles. It has finally arrived. He just didn't expect it to be slower than his own attack. And with that, his entire figure vanishes in a brilliant burst of light. The burning figure? It was a clone. But what was that other object then? A tiny, pierced paper doll flutters down before her. At that moment, 2 fighter jets roar onto the scene, guns blazing. She figures this is more of his plan. But modern weapons lack aura. They're just fast-moving hunks of metal. Wholly unimpressed, she flicks her sword. How brave of them, she says with a sarcastic smirk. Yet one jet dodges her aura, and fires a missile. To her, the incoming rocket is moving in slow motion. Except, the missile corrects its own course midair. She never saw it coming, and is engulfed in a massive fireball. With a confirmed lock, the jets let loose their full payload. A huge barrage of missiles slams into the target, exploding on impact. Everything is proceeding according to his plan. But he knows modern tech can't hold her for more than a minute. Without his sword, he's no real threat to her. He needs something just as powerful as his sacred blade. The forging was actually completed mid-battle. All that's left is one final crucial step. He sighs, preparing to start the cooling process. Low on fuel, the jets withdraw. When the ground suddenly erupts, a massive, grotesque hand erupts toward the sky. In an instant, it snatches one of the jets from the air. On the comms, he screams at the other pilots to get out of there now. The second jet tries to escape, but gets swatted down by its own wingman. Then, an eyeless creature appears, roaring with fury. The beast is colossal, making nearby buildings look like mere toys. Above, the Demon King scoffs. This is what they get for interfering. Now, they all die. Someone notes the creature is pure spiritual energy. A perfect chance to finish the Emperor before he unleashes his plan. But something from above steals her attention, completely breaking her focus. A small, sniffling child is crying out for his father, weeping. He whimpers about how scared he is. As he calls for his dad, one of the creature's massive paws descends. He's seconds away from becoming a pancake. The Demon King watches intently. The little boy keeps crying, clueless that he's about to be a monster's appetizer. The sight makes her close her eyes, sparking a memory of when she too was small, searching for her own father. Amid the destruction, the city is gridlocked. every exit choked with traffic. Inside one car, a call goes unanswered. The young man complains his wife never picks up, even for emergencies. To make it worse, there's no phone signal. But the radio brings shocking news: the monster from downtown has just vanished. Inside the car, the man worries about the sudden downpour. His daughter mentions the news said nothing about rain today. Near the bridge, a massive cyclone is forming, pulling water into itself. A few idiots actually get out of their cars to film the spectacle. They're completely oblivious to the danger it poses. At the vortex's center is the Emperor's glowing sword. He's manipulating the water, cooling his blade until the energy condenses, unleashing a powerful shockwave.
The resulting wave smashes cars off the bridge, likely washing away those foolish onlookers.
In its wake, a thick fog blankets the area. The girl hops out of the car, ignoring her father's pleas to stay inside. She stares at where the river used to be, unable to comprehend what she's seeing.
All the water is gone, as if the riverbed was completely drained. High above, the Emperor stands before his blade.
He reaches a hand toward the weapon's hilt. The moment he touches it, an intense flash of energy erupts. The light is so bright it pierces through the dense fog. Its sheer power immediately blasts the mist away. Now, the blade he's forged is ready to cut down anyone in its path. He admires the fruit of his labor. This has been a long time coming. In the mist, the Demon King calls him a fool while reaching for the child. She scoffs that she wasn't just waiting around for him. The kid smiles, finally reunited with his irresponsible father. They hug, and the Demon King tells the man to flee, warning that this place isn't safe. She doesn't like dragging out her fights. She plans to end this swiftly, just like in their past life. To that, the Emperor completely agrees. Raising his sword, he begins an incantation to block off the street. Not to be outdone, the Emperor summons his own entity, but his glows with a holy aura. She swings her blade, unleashing a dark wave. The Emperor counters with his own heroic blast. Their powers violently detonate in the sky. This was the opening she needed. And now that he has a sword, he can't make excuses for losing. The Emperor forms a hand seal and begins a solemn chant. Markings appear on his face as his conjured sword dissolves. Seeing this, the Demon King knows it's a forbidden sword art. He used this last time. She should have prepared her demonic sword.
In its current state, her blade is no match. Without the power to resist, she is struck head-on. A great beam of light surges toward her. A mysterious rift begins to tear through the sky, revealing another dimension.
Faced with such overwhelming power, even the heavens are cracking apart.
Utterly broken and drained, she has to admit this is overkill. The Emperor stands over her, declaring the winner has been decided.
But someone declares this is only the beginning. Though badly wounded, the Demon King sees something incredible. It was the other half of the magic sword. The sword speaks, admitting it hid well to gather its pieces. But the woman already had most of them. Gravely injured, she scoffs that even a fake sword can't kill her. She'll recover soon. And unlike him, she still has a magic blade. Even if it was a cheap win, the victor was already clear. Unexpectedly, the sword impales her from behind, bursting through her chest. It won't obey someone with such weak energy. Now, both of them will die here. The sword decided to start with the weaker one, sending her home first. In her case, that's hell. It lunges forward, striking violently where the Demon King once stood. But something was wrong. There was nothing there but shattered concrete. It taunted him mockingly. The Emperor played hero for the damsel, but he's just a brainless oaf.
Nearly out of strength, she demands to be put down, refusing his touch.
Being saved by the Emperor is worse than being stabbed and more hateful than going bald.
He told her to stop posturing and save her energy if she wanted to live. He has a plan, but he needs her help.
The sword had become a giant monster, and, like a true gossip, wanted to know what they were whispering about. This infuriated her. She loves juicy gossip and wanted to hear it too. With his eyes shut, the Emperor prepares another spell, the Prison of Light. Several beams of energy descend from the heavens. They slam into the monster sword, pinning it down. She was shocked. Now she was stuck and couldn't even hear their secrets. This prison can only be broken by yang power.
Surely a mighty sword like her could use a little yang energy, right?
Or maybe she can't, being totally incompatible with this new world. The comment nearly gave the sword an aneurysm. Gathering all her might, she shatters the prison.
Showing off her new roid rage physique, the sword clearly wasn't afraid of a few needles.
Flexing her form, she challenged the Emperor. Did he dare disrespect a body with 3% fat?
Winding up a massive punch, she sneered at his tiny key and the dying woman in his arms. Calling them shameful, she vowed to send them both to hell. However, with the girl in his lap, the Emperor snaps his fingers.
The monster sword was struck right in her floating rib. If she had an alcoholic's liver, that would have been a fatal blow. The damage was immense. She couldn't believe it. Looks like she really was an alcoholic after all. Since she collected all the fragments, his piece must be inside her trembling body. He had refined his fragment in debate. It was his trump card against the demon, but he used it on the sword instead. The monster panics as her yang energy drains away, her juiced-up rental body deflating. Now it's the Demon King's turn. To the sword's horror, she began absorbing its power, returning it to a withered husk. The sword screamed in despair, desperate to keep her gains. With a final clink, she cursed them. She was right. The sealed yang power from the sword was now in his body. Now, it was time for them to finally settle their score. A massive tongue suddenly slams down before them. It's the beast of chaos. The sword rejoiced, seeing that God hadn't abandoned her. She gleefully wished them luck dealing with this new monstrosity. Facing the Emperor, she admitted her own greed. Now, what was his grand plan? His gaze pierced the heavens, their goal to mend that celestial scar. But she was a demon. Her arts were of annihilation, not repair. Fixing things wasn't her specialty. He told her to leave, claiming he could handle it. He only needed her to uphold her end of the bargain. Facing the rift, he clasped his hands as his eyes began to glow, as his palms parted. A miniature sun of energy pulsed. He unleashed it, commanding the beast back to its own realm. With a command, the fissure began to seal, forcibly ejecting the otherworldly creature. Immediately, the wound in the sky started to close. The demon watched, awestruck by his immense power. With blood on his lips, he gasped. "It's never that easy." He coughed, utterly drained. That final act had consumed every last shred of his energy. Suddenly, a hand grabbed him, stopping his fall into the rift. The demon woman told him to hold on. Demonic lore taught that power grew by taking lives, but all that killing hadn't strengthened her. She realized it was all just a ploy to get his attention before she revived everyone. For some reason, her demonic pride refused to compute. A blush crept across her cheeks. He had trusted her to handle it, placing his faith in the word of the Demon King. He'd gambled she wouldn't betray him, and now she was literally pulling him from the abyss. Half swallowed by the rift, she strained to pull him free. It was closing fast, and he wasn't even helping. Fearing the inevitable, she screamed his name one last time. Calmly, he pointed out that she'd still saved that little brat, despite knowing everyone would be revived. His words left her speechless. The Emperor said more, but the words were lost to the void. At last, the rift slammed shut, sealing him on the other side. She seethed with frustration at her failure, until she noticed something odd in her hand. A tiny, flickering flame doll rested in her palm. As the sun bled across the horizon, she sat perched atop a building. She stared at the Emperor's final, strange gift. A sigh of disappointment escaped her. Raising a hand to the sky, she gathered a colossal amount of energy. Beams of light erupted from the massive sphere, blanketing the city. The brilliant glow illuminated her determined face. As the sphere of power waned, so too did the light. Her energy totally depleted. She collapsed into a fit of racking coughs, weakened by her monumental effort. Reviving one soul costs 100 years of cultivation. This would cost far more. But at last, her promise was fulfilled. The little doll she'd received dissolved into motes of light against the sky. Her thoughts returned to the immortal Emperor, blushing as she died in his arms. She couldn't get the image of that gray-haired man out of her head. All she could picture was his face. The memory was now colored with a strange, undeniable fondness. In her bed, the woman slept like a stone. Her dreams dragged her into the past. A red-eyed girl, a demon not to be trifled with. A sword was thrust into her hands. Her target an immortal spy who had slain her people. An adult's voice urged her to get on with it. Her small hands trembled. With a grunt of impatience, the adult shoved her forward. The cold steel plunged into the prisoner. It was too much for a child to bear. "This compassion," the adult hissed, "is a weakness that will be your doom." The dream began to warp and change. Perhaps she was the one who needed to think things through. Now, a new vision surfaced. The immortal Emperor, being consumed by the rift. She wanted to scream at him to shut up and let her save him. But instead, he spoke of the child she had saved. His words were agony. She pleaded with him to be quiet. The Emperor only gave her a small, cryptic smile. "I knew you weren't good, but I didn't think you were evil." Waking from the intense nightmare, she bolted upright in bed. Her hands gripped the sheets, her body still trembling. Elsewhere, a shadowy figure delivered a report. The two of them fought, destroying half the city. One clash of their swords literally tore the sky. Afterward, some unknown power resurrected the dead. We cannot expect such a miracle to happen again. "So we're supposed to trust these clowns and wait to die?" a sharp voice interjected. "What else can we do?" This was Yang Tianyu. The holy Yaoi was skeptical. A simple sword strike that could rip open a portal in the sky. The renowned sword saint felt a wave of professional embarrassment. She knew of no such technique. "Don't feel bad," someone named Lai commented. "No immortal should be capable of punching a hole in the heavens." The guy with the piercings admits Elder Jiao was turned to dust in one hit, and they wouldn't stand a chance. The talented Wu-Tang sarcastically asks her grandma if everyone just gathered here to complain. Grandma Bayan tells her to be polite, as she's already discussed how to handle this with another elder. Her clan has always cared for the oracles, the sacred arms of the divine path, tasked with defending righteousness and purging heretics. But the oracle only left a cryptic message: drink this tear and do what is right. So they sealed it, completely unaware of its power. The blonde demands to know what this tear has to do with them. Her grandmother recalls how when she first arrived at the temple, she was so wounded her survival was a miracle. The seal they made suddenly broke, and its power merged directly with her. She is now the daughter of destiny, their ultimate trump card. They must help her cultivate her power. One elder suggests pairing her with a man from his clan to speed up her training, but a shadowy figure insists it must be a man with pure yang energy, stunning the blonde that they're serious. A man with such energy would naturally be incredibly handsome, so they must choose the absolute best-looking guy, which makes the blonde girl even more horrified. Piercing Guy adds, he must be young. Since a big age gap is bad for cultivation, they should scout the schools, which is why a beauty contest is underway. Hearing all this, the blonde was furious that she had absolutely no say in the matter. Meanwhile, the red-eyed girl gets wind of this news. This is the key for Wu-Tang to double her cultivation speed. A beauty contest for male students automatically puts him on the candidate list. She wants him to win, so they can get closer to the Phoenix Group and the Daughter of Destiny. But she overheard something else from the meeting. They plan to use every resource available to find the Emperor and His Majesty. After hearing this, she lets the young man go. A week passes, but her aura still hasn't recovered. This mortal body is pathetically weak, and her foundation was damaged during her last resurrection. This world isn't supposed to be dangerous, but the Magic Sword's rebellion has complicated things. The Emperor and the Demon Sword are her sworn enemies.
She'll lay low as Hanini for now. While she recovers, she'll hunt for the sword first.
She decides she'll keep the pot, and the cashier tells her to move to the next register. He then asks if she's into monarchs, making her blush.
A little girl with fox ears greets her master, wanting to know if he's all right. But the young man is deep in meditation.
He had, however, told her to observe using a paper doll. She quickly summarizes what happened at the meeting.
She couldn't hear perfectly, but mentioned the beauty contest and doubling cultivation to fight the Demon King.
On top of that, they're searching for the whereabouts of her master and the demon. The young man dismisses her, needing to focus. Using forbidden techniques is taking a toll on this mortal body. He feels completely powerless. He'll have to keep Lin Mo's profile low for a while. He then makes a decisive move on the board. His opponent has lost to him yet again. She acknowledges the loss, but claims she only let him win because he was kidnapped for her sake. A mere mortal could never defeat her. She recalls her promise to grant him a wish if he won, expecting him to ask her out or something equally cliché. To her shock, he calls it boring and says they'll talk about it some other time. He notes she played poorly today, looking sleepy and that she should have washed her face. This sent her into a rage. She tried being nice to the mortal, and it only inflated his ego. She vows to never let him win again. A young girl greets Lin Mo, noting she hasn't seen him around all day. She mentions the beauty contest and says she and her sister will vote for him. But he isn't even on the list. He finds the whole thing too boring to join. No way a vain person like him would find a beauty contest boring. She figures he's just playing hard to get. Fine then, if he won't do it, she'll be the one to sign him up for the contest. Holding it in a school seemed almost too easy. So far, first place is held by some smelly, four-eyed nerd. She refuses to marry that clown. Then, she stumbles upon Lin Mo's picture among the contestants. She immediately calls her friends over to her phone. It's a video of Shen playing guitar. The man's charisma has them drooling, but she calls them animals for devouring Lin Mo with their eyes. One of her friends points out that for someone criticizing, she sure liked and saved that video. Not to mention, she downloaded it for some private viewing later in the dark, which is totally suspicious. Trying to save face, she insists they're just classmates. It's only sympathy, she swears.
Ready to stir the pot, her friend says she knows Wu-Tang wants to jump his bones.
She snaps back, shouting that of course she would, because the guy is handsome. Totally fit and well-equipped. And honestly, where's the problem in that? Nearby, two haters call her shallow, but secretly they wished it was about them. He vowed to win, spending 8 hours a day on his photos. But Lin Mo already beat him, and first place is a clown who looks like a hamster. He declares he will just have to work harder. But his friend shatters that dream, saying his chances are slim. Suddenly, someone shouts that Shen Lian has arrived. The pretty boy with genetics that defy logic glides down the hall, turning heads. He dismisses his fans for the day, wanting a private word with Wu-Tang. She bets he's clueless about the contest, but her curiosity is piqued. Then, his voice completely changes. He hopes for their continued support, but Wu-Tang heard that shift. He then offers her some homemade cookies. His voice shifts again as he offers one, but she flatly refuses. She won't eat anything from a clown who probably never washes his hands. Calling him disgusting, she leaves. But she realizes his voice-charming skill had absolutely no effect on her. Could it be because she is the daughter of destiny? Wu-Tang is thoroughly creeped out, disgusted by that four-eyed weirdo. She knows he's a cultivator using cheap tricks on girls, and she wants no part of it. But he's on her grandma's list, so exposing him is risky. Just then, her friend whispers that Lin Mo has shown up. Seeing him alone is a rare sight. With Shen grabbing all the attention, She'd forgotten Lin Mo was in second place. Her friend urges her to go talk to him, making her blush beet red. She's so flustered, she can't even consider it. They're just friends, and that's all. Except she trailed off. Her mouth refused to form the words, just friends. She flashed back to him, playfully punching her spleen. Yup, a couple. Of buddies. But her memory argued otherwise. Then she remembered his open shirt, revealing that perfectly toned chest. Her friend feigns confusion. Sorry, did you say just classmates? But saying that with a sudden nosebleed isn't very convincing. Humiliated, she bolts from the cafeteria. Tang walks the hall, lost in a storm of conflicting feelings. Some guys try to get her attention. Her new mission: get better photos of him. Without them, beating Shen's vocal talent would be tough. She has the city's best photographers on call. Surely, Lin Mo wouldn't turn down her offer. But the moment she proposed it, he shut her down flat. He even said if she's so idle, she should get a part-time job. He added that she was just bothering him and should find someone else for her project. But there was a bigger reason, he thought to himself. I feel sick. I need to spend all my free time cultivating. To her, however, he just said he was recently kidnapped and can't trust girls anymore. That was a believable excuse, so she accepted it. At the gym, she unleashes her fury on a punching bag. As she thinks it over, she blames herself completely. After all, she promised she would protect him. She told him everything would be okay. But in the end, that promise turned into a lie. Because of her failure, he can't trust her now. The helpless situation just fills her with pure rage. Overwhelmed, she breaks down sobbing. Marrying that disgusting, four-eyed creep would be a fate worse than death. Her sorrow quickly turns back to rage as she pummels the bag even harder. A woman with massive biceps and a stern face asks why the gym is empty. The clerk says Yutong booked the entire place for the day. Ever since she arrived, she's been wailing on that bag non-stop in just her sports bra. A rich student who paid for this? The woman has been itching for a fight, and this seems like the perfect chance. The clerk warns her it's a bad idea, saying the girl is seriously ticked off at the world. But the woman doesn't care. She even offers to refund the girl's money. She's not bothered in the slightest. Walking up, she says the girl's form isn't bad but lacks grit. She introduces herself as the gym's personal trainer. Hey, Yoonhee. She gave her a simple choice: leave now, or get a beating. Full of swagger, her friend said failing would make her a coward. Outside, the crowd sees a body fly out the first-floor window. As if that wasn't wild enough, the blonde leaps right out the window too. She had a promise to keep. After all, no one knew the reason. But it was a one-sided beatdown. Her mask fell off, and the woman begged the young fighter to spare her. Tossing the mask, she just asked why she wore it. She had a scar. The blonde shrugged, saying it made no difference. She got made fun of anyway. Still, there was unfinished business, and a promise of a beatdown to uphold. She promised if she was ever touched again, things would end differently, with her sleeping with the fishes. A police officer finally arrives, responding to a report of a crime in progress. Seeing the scarred woman, he knew her instantly. A wanted pervert with a bounty. Her crime: abusing an 80-year-old man. And just like that, our brawler turned into a local heroine. She got apologies from the crowd and the reward for the fugitive. On top of that, she was even interviewed for her heroic actions. The next day, she's back in the cafeteria, with that same feeling from before. Her friend assumes she's here to brag to the redhead about the fugitive, but that isn't it. Every time she's alone, she finds money or meets handsome men, and her grandma insists she needs a partner. So, she wonders if this luck can help her capture Lin Mo. But Lin Mo is cold and calculating. Her friend suggests she date Shen. The other girl started coughing, having nearly choked on her food. She's confident, she just needs intel on him. His likes, dislikes, daily routine, blood type. Nothing too invasive, of course. It seems Lin Mo is the redhead's best friend, practically a brother. If she wants to know more, she'll have to pay up, because nothing is free. The blonde just smirked at her audacity. For any useful information, she will receive $500,000. But if it's nonsense, the redhead won't listen. Pulling something from her bra, she declared there was no turning back. All the notes detailed his habits and interests, collected over a long time. The blonde now finds herself buried under a mountain of research. However, one thing she could already confirm. Every day, he skips the cafeteria at lunch, he grabs his meal and vanishes. But our blonde already knew that. A friend mentioned he plays chess on the terrace with a girl every day. The mention of a girl sparked instant jealousy. Who is she? Pointing to the food line, her friend said, she's right there. The blonde turns to see who it is. She's never heard of anyone playing chess at this school. It's the girl with red eyes, Han Signy. The blonde was completely stunned by this unexpected reveal. Then, looking at her, she remembered something shocking. She's dead. She kept repeating it. A stupid game had cost her friend's life. Her colleague warns her that Han Shini is a tough opponent, but the blonde insists they are friends. Or at least, they used to be. They sit on the terrace beneath a cloudy sky. She says he's finally arrived. He replies that the weather is awful and there are plenty of empty rooms. They didn't need to be on the terrace, but their battle started here, and it will end here. She asks if he's scared, but he scoffs. The forecast had already called for rain and snow. He then worried that a certain girl might get soaked and attack him with her ample attributes. After being kidnapped recently, he doesn't trust girls. But she throws her coat at him so she won't have to apologize later. Lin Mo looks down at the coat, while his classmate watches him with blushing cheeks. He seems lost in thought. Meanwhile, the girl turns away, looking a bit annoyed. He isn't going to wear the coat. But she insists he put it on, so she won't have to hear about it if he gets cold. Today was just about avenging her loss from the day before. He won't come to the terrace in bad weather again. She just doesn't want to be misunderstood. He says the sleeves are short, but it fits. So, she proudly declares her bust size is 36. But he immediately asks what size that is, making her blush. In any case, there's no time to think about that as the rain begins. It started to pour, but the girl was still burning with embarrassment. She says his mouth is cursed for making it rain, but he just says he saw the news. He'd had enough and turned to go home. But as he left, her voice cut through the rain, ordering Lin Mo to stop. After his last victory, he told her to wash her face and try again. And she did. Now, even the sky was crying. She was determined to play today, no matter what. Driven by impulse, she challenged him again, needing a win. Just one look at his arrogant expression made her blood boil.
Fine, go home then, she snapped, irritated by his refusal. She stood in the rain, clothes soaked and transparent, all because of him.
After her outburst, she peeked at him. To her shock, Lin Mo agreed to play, but only for a single round. Now it was his turn to make a move. Realizing the game was on, her expression brightened considerably, though, technically, it was her turn. A lifetime of power meant a lifetime of being feared, leaving her without a single friend. She was raised to be the demon queen, a ruler born for conquest and brutal leadership. Affection was a weakness she was trained to never need. Yet in this world, she found someone who accepted her challenges, someone who actually enjoyed her company. For the very first time, she felt pure joy. Elsewhere. He sneezed, and his young assistant asked if her master was okay. He said he was fine and asked about the dark door. Everything was in order. She had already sold 8 of the sin essences he provided. With this, they could craft compasses to locate yin energy, which would help tame the aggressive demonic sword. He instructed her to hide all cultivation materials until the destroyed wall was fully repaired. Suddenly, a woman appeared, shouting his name. She demanded to know what he did to Wang, who had sent a pile of gifts. The girl simply wanted a word. Lin Mo, clueless, said he did nothing and suggested, but the woman insisted they had guests, and he needed to come greet them immediately. He brushed it off as a hassle, claiming he needed a shower. This enraged her. A marriage to Wang would be a huge benefit to their family. She rushed back, telling the blonde girl Lin Mo was just getting ready to look nicer for her. The woman announced that she and her husband and son were leaving, suggesting the blonde stay with Lin Mo. But the girl just wanted to say something quickly and go. She dragged her husband away, vowing not to return until the next afternoon. The blonde insisted it was unnecessary. The poor girl just wanted to apologize, but every word she spoke only deepened the misunderstanding. Flustered, she desperately needed the bathroom and began to wander the huge house, trying to find it. That's when she noticed a door that was slightly ajar. Out stepped Lin Mo, wearing only a towel. His physique was like a Greek statue, perfectly chiseled. He finally noticed her standing there. With his assets clearly outlined, he bluntly asked what she wanted. But her brain had short-circuited. All she wanted was a closer look at that impressive piece. She stammered an apology, explaining she was lost and looking for the restroom. She quickly babbled that she saw nothing, didn't mean to see the towel situation, and had already forgotten it. But he recalled her title as the Daughter of Destiny. Could his own lustful thoughts have actually summoned this scene? She was certain something intense was about to unfold, starting with her own impressive attributes. A strange feeling grew in her chest, gathering her nerve. She told him it was far too soon for them to do this, but she never finished her sentence, because a powerful force suddenly struck her in the chest. It was a punch thrown by Lin Mo in a desperate attempt to defend his virtue from tempting women. He had mastered the art of protecting his innocence. He had no idea what she wanted, but told her to get a grip. Later, in his room, they attempted a much healthier conversation. The blonde tried to apologize for not protecting him last time, but he insisted it was Yan Hui's fault, not hers. She offered him a mountain of gifts as an apology. He refused, but said she could pay to fix his wall if she really wanted. Claiming it was late, he told her he needed to rest. If she had nothing else to say, she could go home. She quietly left his room, gently closing the door. Outside, she leaned against the wall, utterly frustrated. Slowly, she slid down to the floor, defeated. This wasn't the feeling she was hoping for. Memories of her time with Lin Mo began to flood her mind. The thought made her sadder than she ever expected. Insight. Our hero continued his pure boy act, a feat only possible in fiction. Meanwhile, the blonde girl peeks at him through a broken wall. She steps into his room again, calling his name. With absolutely no filter, she asks him to be her boyfriend. then anxiously awaits his reply. She insists she'll only ask this once. She knows he's still recovering from the kidnapping and doesn't want to pressure him. But she stammers before blurting out that she loves their walks together and the way he makes her helmet smell.
Her strange compliments seem to work as he starts breaking a sweat. She loves how he protects his innocence when he misunderstands her.
He's not like other guys, and she probably means nothing to him. But she'll work hard to one day be worthy of him. That confession took everything out of her, leaving her breathless. Lin Mo then stood up and walked right toward her. She has no idea what to do, worried she might have just pushed him away forever. But she's a girl who means what she says. The word quit simply isn't in her vocabulary. Lin Mo is now cornered against the wall. What man can resist such a bold confession? The poor boy is sweating bullets. He swallows hard, preparing to speak. He notes they've only known each other for 6 months. Yet she already likes him. He has to ask her, is love really that superficial? But if this is what she truly wants, he tells her to go for it, because she has what it takes. The girl erupts with joy. She says goodbye, heading home, but asks him to join her for a photo shoot tomorrow. He watches through the window as the victorious blonde skips away. The young woman asks her master if he's all right, wondering why he didn't just refuse her. After all, she is the child of destiny. Despite his immense power, her world-bending luck made stopping her impossible. Had he said no, the heavens themselves would have intervened. But love isn't just a game of chance. Yet if luck touches his heart, lonely for 10,000 years, what reason is there to resist? It's certainly food for thought. People in love are just as foolish as anyone else. The next day, he's told to look at the camera. Now sharply dressed, he's posing for photos. With a quick change, he strikes another pose in athletic wear. The blonde complains the clothes don't fit his vibe, insisting the school uniform is best. He's baffled, but she is firm about the school uniform. For sneaky reasons she keeps to herself. Now he's trying on more formal attire. Finally, the results of the vote are in. Lin Mo won, but his background is a mystery, so he'll require a test. Someone asks how they'll manage that. The redhead's running this whole show. If she's worried, she needs to start showing it. Then it hits her. The blonde. And the epic meltdown she's about to have. The meeting was set for 6:30 at the hotel. But did they RSVP? Nope. Not like the world was at stake or anything. And with that, he hangs up. It was finally time to meet Lin Mo. His employee wondered how they'd pull off her crazy request. She wanted a new view, so he brought 20 girls of school age. His orders were simple: tie their feet, break their legs, then dump them in the sea with a stone. All this cannon fodder couldn't compare to Yutong's prize. Besides, this Lin Mo looked totally unremarkable in her photos. One of them had to ask, why did Ju bring a sword to a casual hangout? That sword has been with her for life. And this little party has guests from every major sect. Hong's granddaughter is either a genius or just naive. Someone told the girl with silver hair to slow down on the drinks. This meeting was big. She just wanted to see Hongling, because listening to the blonde scream all day would be actual torture. At last, they were here. She wondered what this guy was really like, but the sight before her was completely unexpected. The blonde made her grand entrance, asking if she was late, but it was impossible. It felt like she could read his every thought. With everyone finally seated, his real mission began. He scanned them for clues about the venerable demon's location. He was also here because the blonde invited him. But a quick look around told him everything. These women with their predatory gazes were completely useless. The old woman scolded them, saying their staring would ruin their reputation before asking Yuang for an introduction. She proudly announced he was her boyfriend, Lin Mo, but he quickly shot that down. He waved off introductions, declaring he'd just eat and leave. The gray-haired woman called him a cutie, then asked Yuang's little puppy if he'd ditch his food for a private chat. Hearing his love for tea, she offered a special blend only she could prepare. The aroma was unmistakable golden silk tea. The food was bland, so he should try this offered delicacy instead. The blonde's instincts screamed. Something was very wrong with this picture. From under the girl's nail, a suspicious powder fell. It might be for a party, or something far more sinister. The blonde shot to her feet, demanding to know what she put in the tea. The girl feigned innocence, claiming a Zhao family lady would never stoop so low. She insisted she put nothing in it. If she did, she'd rip off her own head as a gift. But if not, the blonde had to lend her the boyfriend for a few days. At those words, the blonde's fury erupted, a pure and genuine rage. She moved in close, pressing her chest against hers, daring her to repeat that outrageous demand. She knew something was up, but it could be a simple trap. She warned Lin Mo not to drink anything from that woman. The other girl just smiled, saying the choice was his and his alone. Then she whispered a threat no one knew her true identity, and she was more than willing to expose it all. The gray-haired woman warned her to tread lightly, reminding her that she lived only by her mercy. The boy finally realized Tianu was one of these vixens and sighed. Were all cultivators this dramatic? Once more, she asked if he'd like some tea, and yes, it was pretty obvious she'd spiked it. It was invisible, scentless. Yet he could sense a bizarre energy, a venomous parasite, the sneakiest kind to spot. He can't even tell them apart, which is why this crude method still exists. Everyone saw this, but stayed silent. This dinner is undoubtedly a test for him. If he uses his power, the poison is useless, but it would raise suspicion. But if he dares to reject it,
They'll brand him an expert. His cultivation will become a nightmare, as they'll watch his every move.
a truly tough spot with no clear escape. Then, a hand slaps the table and snatches the teacup. The blonde downs the entire cup's contents. Lin Mo was so stunned, his food fell from his chopsticks. She drank in his place, reminding them of their connection. If she's harmed, they know who to blame. That's enough of that. The old woman brought out a treasure she wanted to present. She asked if it wasn't cute, but it was just a strange rat. This rat seeks yang energy, hunting for cultivators. It seems they'll use it to decide if Lin Mo is a worthy partner. There's just one tiny detail about that. In his family, not one person has been a cultivator for the past 18 generations. To her amazement, the rat began squeaking nonstop. Still in her hand, it was practically having a meltdown. The rat's intense reaction startles everyone. The gray-haired woman orders the elder to let it go. The moment it's free, it darts across the table, making a beeline for Lin Mo. It lunged at the young man, but he flicked it away. Still eating, he told her to control her pet, but he didn't care. It seems her friends dislike him, so he announces his departure. But the blonde asks him to wait, wanting him to at least hear her out. The veiled one says the rat is normally shy. Even near a pure yang body, it only observes. Shocked, the old woman says it's more than a pure yang body.
Crying, she declares it's the supreme body she'd only heard about in legends.
The Zhao family's daughter is impossibly lucky, making the old woman burn with envy. Tonight's events must be kept absolutely secret. Anyone who dares leak this will be severely punished. The gray-haired woman muses that Yutong won't be able to resist his body. They then take off on her motorcycle. The young man wants to confirm if the tea truly contained something. The blonde says that woman wouldn't dare harm her. Since she didn't pursue it, it wasn't serious. Distracted, her eyes widen at the sight before her. A very unhappy dog is crossing in front of her bike. To avoid the animal, she makes a risky maneuver, choosing their lives over the creatures. In the chaos, she sees Lin Mo flying, but manages to grab his arm. The two of them crash to the ground. The blonde lands directly on top of him. The young man asks if she can please get off. Worried, she asks if he's injured, but he's fine since motorcycle falls only hurt in real life. Her playful snow toss catches his eye, a snowball fight. But he knows the poison she took is acting up. It forces a childish regression, causing flushed cheeks and a burning heat. 9 times out of 10, this venom shatters all inhibitions, making one vulnerable or shockingly shameless. He mulls this over, watching the goddess practically beg for his attention. Fine, he'll play, but not for long. It reminds him of being begged to play constantly. Mortals can rest, but a cultivator's path is relentless. She knows better. With demons lurking nearby, this is a foolish risk. In truth, she has waited forever, and her patience is thin. He's still not an immortal emperor, but the elders insist he has the potential. She demands a timeline for his ascension, for immortality, for ending the demons. Her anxiety is palpable. She desperately needs to know how long. 1,000 years, 10,000. The world itself might crumble into dust before then. Worse, he might never wed a mortal like her. All she wants is 30 minutes in the snow with him. She suddenly apologizes, realizing the pressure she's put on him. She tells him to go, to be the hero he must be. Maybe their fates will align in another life. Still, she'll keep bothering him for that snow day. Elsewhere, the demon sword scoffs that this generation of cultivators is pathetic. Giving this land to weak mortals was a mistake. The Demon King will simply obliterate it all. The girl crawls, the air crushing her lungs. As he reaches her, the demon sword strikes without mercy.
But the Emperor appears, shielding her. Enraged by this sacrilege, he unleashes his own blade.
The demon blade is insulted. Sending a mere rookie against a weapon of its caliber is a grave offense. His brothers are coming. He warns, the sword can't escape, but the blade just laughs. Which will be faster? Your death or their arrival? The violent battle rages on through the burning village. The blow was devastating, but he realizes something is far worse than his own pain. The girl he tried to save is sent flying. It's too late. The demon sword moves in for the kill. But something's wrong. His feet are trapped. The monster sneers. The rookie has been completely deceived. His focus on the woman was his downfall. Now, he's totally immobilized. The death blow descends. But she throws herself in its path. He watches in horror as she dies before him. The monster lifts her limp body in its claws, tossing it aside like trash. Now, it's the rookie's turn. However, the execution is abruptly stopped. A summons from the venerable demon. Does his master know he went rogue? Annoyed, the emperor asks if he's the demon's lackey. A bold question for a man about to die. He should thank the venerable demon. This call has turned him into a tragic hero for the immortals. He rushes to Ying, asking if she's okay. She can only whisper that her boy has returned. Is it really him? Her vision has faded to black. Through his tears, he confirms it's him, begging her to hold on just a little longer. But she's fading fast. She asks him to listen. By the cliff, behind the bamboo forest. He must go alone. She hopes in the next life she can join him. Her last word was an apology.
Flames consume the forest, mirroring the grief that devours the emperor's heart. The future demon lord warns her father the sword is a liability. Sooner or later, it will cause a true disaster, and he cannot keep protecting it. She must learn that killing is not evil. Her father answers not with words, but with a sharp slap. Killing mortals or killing bandits, it's all the same. Her weakness will destroy their ancestors' legacy. Perhaps she is unworthy to be the next venerable demon.
He remembers her begging to play in the snow. He never had time, until his gaze falls on something. The moon reminds him of her warning his training would turn his hair gray. The memory breaks him, grieving. She told him to be a hero, so they could meet in the next life. Now the blonde is here, but he hears his first love's promise to keep pestering him to play in the snow. He just wants the regret to end, to not repeat his mistakes. The blonde stares, fascinated, at the system screen. But then, an unexpected message appeared. She read the words carefully. Wei Qin had attempted to take her life, and succeeded. Sorrow washed over her for the poor woman. Moments later, another message popped onto the screen. Someone was unwell and was canceling the game team. Instantly, fury ignited within her. This was all Hanzini's fault. If it weren't for that blonde girl, she and Shenny would never have been in this mess. Drowning in rage, she mourned for Wei Qin. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman wondered aloud what might happen if the blonde simply ceased to exist. But she apologized, admitting she never imagined her family would apply so much pressure over a simple tournament. A new voice suddenly cut in, stating that wasn't true. This was never just about the game. She demanded to know how Hansen Yu was there, pressing a knife to her own chest. The woman asked if she truly wished to know, because if so, she needed to think about the real truth of the matter. Was she certain she could handle the answer? Slamming her hands on the desk, the blonde yelled for her to wait, but she was already alone in the empty classroom. A girl with blue hair appeared, announcing it was lunchtime and asking if the blonde had eaten yet. She approached, demanding to know where Lin Mo was. The girl sighed, saying she knew this was coming. He's on the terrace, and not alone. The words made her jealousy flare. As the blonde stormed away, her friend called out, asking her not to start trouble. She couldn't believe it. Someone like Sheeny, interested in a guy that had to be a joke. Besides, she'd never heard Sheeny mention anyone. She had to see with her own two eyes what was happening on that roof. Her eyes widened in shock. So the rumors were true. The two of them were up there, playing chess. She marched up to the girl. Everyone in this school knows I like Lin Mo. Are you just pretending not to know? The girl replied they'd played every day since meeting, and the whole school knew but her. The blonde was seething. Since you're here, I have a question for you, she said. It's about your older sister? But the brunette dismissed it. That's pointless. My sister and I have nothing to say to you right now. She admitted her guilt, but just wanted to know why she was hated so much. The brunette then moved a step closer. She stared her down and said coldly, You know nothing. Curious, she demanded to know what. If you really cared for Wei Qin so much, you should find out on your own. With your strength, it shouldn't be difficult. The blonde threatened that if this was a bad joke, she'd make her pay. Turning, she put a hand on Lin Mo's shoulder and asked him to come with her. She could be his opponent instead. But in a flash, the brunette grabbed the blonde's arm, leaving both Lin Mo and the blonde completely stunned. She declared that their gaming tradition would not be broken, and that the blonde was getting a little too close. The blonde shot back that she was his girlfriend, and asked what that made the brunette. Standing up, she replied, I'm his only real competition. Lin Mo stated he didn't belong to anyone, and if they were going to argue, he was just going to leave. Before he could go, the blonde grabbed his arm. If he was leaving with her. He told Yu Tang she was being incredibly childish. She shot back that he could go and cry to the teacher. But the blonde didn't get why she felt this way seeing Lin Mo with that girl. Then, Shinny grabbed her arm again, sparking her fury. That's the second time you've grabbed me. The brunette just smirked. Is that a problem? Because I don't really care. Outraged, the blonde yelled that she'd already told her she likes Lin Mo. Burning with jealousy, she demanded to know if she was trying to steal him. The brunette scoffed, fed up with her harassing the poor guy. A powerful aura began to flare around her. I will not repeat myself. Let go of me now. This only seemed to annoy Ginny, as if being a daughter of destiny meant nothing to her. The blonde's rage intensified. Her aura exploded. How dare some ordinary girl challenge an immortal? Her energy continued to swell uncontrollably. However, she suddenly felt a very strange sensation. Her hand felt like it was pressed against a huge boulder. It was like she was facing a massive, unmovable mountain. She couldn't move at all and had no idea how it was possible. After knowing her so long, She couldn't believe the brunette was an immortal too. Now she watched the brunette with a new, intense curiosity. Nearby, Lin Mo knew things had just gotten very complicated. He himself couldn't process who Shinji really was. After the incident, the blonde rode her motorcycle, completely lost in thought. It simply made no sense for Shinji to be a cultivator. But no matter. From now on, she would focus on finding out the truth of what truly happened. Model. The call came in. Someone got the recording she wanted, but she cut him off, demanding he send the video immediately. Until that moment, the footage showed nothing. She never suspected a thing.
With his luck stat rising, the dream had to mean something. He needed to see this through. Then, in the video, he saw it.
It was the building near the accident. The recording showed Tanyu walking by, and her veiled threat echoed in his mind.
So, Tianu was targeting mortals again. This time, there would be no mercy.
Inside a posh club, some guys fawned over the immortal from the Yang family, calling it a privilege. Glued to her phone, she waved them off to entertain themselves. Her mind was clearly somewhere else entirely. His research showed Lin Mo was an ordinary person. But he suspected a hidden past. A supreme body of pure Yang energy. She was furious the blonde had acquired something so valuable. Just then, a loud crash came from the door. It was the blonde, arriving in a storm of rage. The blue-haired guy asked what brought her there. She slammed the phone on the table, the recording on full display. She had a few questions for Tanyu. The gray-haired woman sighed that her family never changes, and the blonde still had no manners, then ordered her lackeys out. Just the women and the blue-haired guy remained. The blonde demanded to know why she was with the girl that day. She looked down with a smirk, claiming she didn't know what the blonde meant. Fine, I'll refresh your memory. In the past, Wei Chin was on her team. They even reached the spring selection finals. The team they lost to in the finals was called Heaven's Gate. The gray-haired woman asked if she should be impressed.
Furious, the blonde shot back. Don't lie, I know that team's leader was you. Tianu?
Filled with envy, you hurt Shiny and killed Wei Chin. You did it just to attack me and feed your sick pride. She simply put a hand over her mouth, mockingly. She let out a dramatic sigh at the outburst. Soon, an uncontrollable smile spread across her face. The blonde demanded to know what was so funny about this. She said that Wang was just adorable, then calmly lit a cigarette. She was bored back then and made a team that lost. She knew nothing about the other team and was just now finding out it was the blondes. But if she had known it was her opponent, she definitely wouldn't have missed her chance. The blue-haired guy argued that she's from a traditional immortal family and wouldn't waste time on such trivial matters. She was simply taking a walk. That means nothing. And she doesn't know the girl. Being in the same recording is pure coincidence. Snatching the phone back, the blonde questioned if it was truly just a coincidence. You entered the building together and left after Wei Chin fell. That's no coincidence? But the woman said many people passed by. To assume she was involved is hasty. But if she wanted a fight, she could bring it, because she wasn't afraid. This time, she would take it seriously and wouldn't hesitate for 1 second. So, it's best you leave before I get angry. Furious. The blonde kicked a nearby table. Say that again, she growled, as the blue-haired guy rushed to hold her back. I'll let you live today out of respect for your father. But once I find the evidence, I'll destroy you and your family. After dropping that threat, she turned around and left the place. The guy noted that Wang is impulsive but serious. With a cold look, the gray-haired woman asked if he didn't believe her. That wasn't what he meant. But it has been a difficult year. It's not smart to anger their most important supporters. Still smoking, she said he could go and didn't need to wait around for her. So he left, muttering that they were all rude. The woman remained alone in the room with her cigarette. Making a call, she ordered her people to find who leaked the recording. The person responsible was to be killed on sight. After giving the order, she smashed her phone on the table. She was envious of the blonde. It's true, killing mortals was a game. But this time, it would be simple, brutal, and without mercy. She would finally kill the blonde for good. Meanwhile, in a restaurant, he looked at the waitress as she presented the menu. Pointing at the fried crabs, Lin Mo mentioned that he had ordered that dish. The waitress just confirmed with a smile. Lin Mo then asked why he received something completely different. He was told it was a special menu from the blonde herself. The chef had never seen so many fine ingredients in her life. For Lin Mo, however, all this was completely pointless. But the blonde beside him huffed, declaring she heard everything. She insisted it was a rare delicacy and demanded he help identify its strange ingredients. Lin Mo reluctantly gave in. With a delighted clap, she looked absolutely thrilled. The blonde then dismissed the cook. Knowing Lin Mo craved quiet, she'd prepared a private room just for him. In return, he simply told her to stop with the useless theatrics. At this, she grabbed his arm tightly. He shot her a sharp sidelong glance. For her, it wasn't pointless at all. She was madly in love, with grand plans for his future. And his innocence. Hearing this bold confession, his eyes widened for a second. Before a sly smile crept onto his face. If that's how it was, he wouldn't complain. As he left, the blonde spotted another person approaching. Her jaw dropped at the sight. It was the brunette, asking Lin Mo for yet another game. She immediately jumped between them, insisting he play in her room. And if he needed a partner, she was right there. The brunette sighed, calling the blonde out. Always so bossy, so careless, and always causing a scene. She gestured around them, telling him to take a look. A crowd of students had gathered. After all, what's lunch without a little bit of drama? She claimed this was for his peace, but all she did was make him the main attraction. Not to mention her body was still aching from their last encounter. The blonde snapped, screaming that she had heard enough. She shooed the onlookers away, yelling that the show was over. Once they were gone, she let out a heavy sigh. Finally, she admitted she'd talked with her sister and knew she'd caused them both to suffer. She understood if the brunette hated her for all the trouble. But she would never hand Lin Mo over to a rival. The brunette shot back, refusing to lose her gaming partner. While they bickered, Lin Mo simply announced his departure, quietly pondering the brunette's true nature. Seeing him walk away, the blonde desperately tried to stop him. But the brunette blocked her path, telling her to stop causing Lin Mo any more problems. Wutong didn't care if she was a cultivator. She couldn't use a game as an excuse. If she truly liked him, fine, but she was to stay out of the way. But if this was all revenge to hurt the blonde by using Lin Mo's feelings, then things would get very ugly. Blushing furiously, the brunette stammered that she didn't like him. They were just game partners and nothing more. Hearing this, the blonde finally released her grip. Since her intentions seemed pure, the blonde would let it slide. For now. She then declared herself no real competition. She could offer him the world. What could the brunette offer? Without a pause, she replied, "I can play games with him." Ending the debate. Clutching her head, she muttered that she couldn't take this anymore. Now she was alone on the terrace, her friend gone. Playing by herself was just so boring. She had played alone for decades, but this was the most mind-numbing game of her entire life. She stared intently at the door, but he never came. The blonde's taunt echoed in her head. What could she offer him? Truly, she had no answer. All she had was a cold terrace and a game of chess. As her power returned, the cold meant nothing to her. But Lin Mo was just a mortal. Yet he never cared. The thought was staggering. A venerable demon, caring for a human. Then again, as a demon king, she could just conquer the world. Then she could offer him everything. Lost in her daydream, the door creaked open. She leaped up, hoping it was him, but saw only a small creature. She paused to think. The cultivators here were pathetically weak. The only real dangers were the immortal emperor and the demonic sword. She mulled it over on the ledge. In thousands of years, she had never felt this anxious. Did he go to that room Wutong prepared for him? She figured modern youths were sensitive. Perhaps the argument had actually upset him. But why was she thinking so much about him? He was just a gaming partner, after all. The blonde's words truly left her unsettled. She insisted to herself she didn't like him and hoped he understood that. She decided to explain things immediately to avoid any misunderstanding. The moment he answered, she quickly introduced herself. "You're a good girl. You'll find someone better," he stated before hanging up. That was not the answer she wanted. Slamming her phone down, she fumed that he never listens. Humiliated by the misunderstanding, Han decided to find him and clear the air. She realized she'd let Wutang's words sway her, even questioning her own heart. Down the hall, she spotted the blonde's friend and approached to ask for his location. Annoyed, the girl was about to refuse, but then a mischievous idea sparked. She lied, saying he was on the basketball court, and told Han she'd better run. Han found this unbelievable. Basketball wasn't his style. But the girl just shrugged, not caring if she was believed. The girl left quickly. Han found it suspicious, but decided to check it out anyway. Students were practicing on the court. Han scanned the crowd for Lin Mo, and then she saw her. The blonde sank a perfect shot to her friend's cheers. Furious at the lie, Han decided to confront her rival directly. Just then, students carried furniture from the sports club. That's when Wutang noticed Han's presence. Han stared her down, directly demanding to know where the young man was. Spinning the ball on her finger, the blonde feigned ignorance. "Shouldn't he be playing Go with you?" she taunted. Han shrugged, ignoring her until a shout cut through the air. A ball flew at her, but she stopped it effortlessly with one hand. Han glared back. "Did you have something to say to me?" The girl smirked, inviting her to a game. Han just tossed the ball back, calling it a boring match. She called it a childish game of putting a ball in a hoop. Yang watched in shock as the ball sailed and swished perfectly through the net. Han simply asked what was so impressive about that. Furious, the blonde retorted that one lucky shot meant nothing, questioning if Han was too scared to face her. "A refined girl like you only knows Go," she mocked. As Han turned away, she fumed, thinking her rival was truly favored by the heavens. Her anger boiled over. How dare that girl provoke her so many times? Wutong's smile was pure venom. "Did I say something that bothered you?" Han met her gaze. "First one to score wins," the blonde agreed. If I win, you'll never play Go with Lin Mo again. She then offered her own terms. And if I happen to lose, I won't interfere with your games again. Han agreed. A crowd gathered, placing bets and filming the clash. Young sneered. Playing in your uniform, are you not taking me seriously? Only worthy opponents deserve that kind of effort. Han replied coolly. Taking the ball, she added. Obviously, you don't qualify. At that moment, students asked to pass by, carrying a table from the club. A single nail fell from the table onto the court. Its sharp tip pointed upward. A hidden danger no one saw. Han took charge, announcing the game's start. But Wu-Tang stopped her, adding one more condition. Neither of us can use our immortal powers, she declared, to protect the civilians. I don't need powers to defeat a novice. Han scoffed. The blonde warned that using them meant instant disqualification. Han tossed the ball to Wu-Tang to start. The girl dribbled forward, closing in on her opponent. Watch carefully, she said. This is how I'll destroy you. Yet the brunette stood perfectly still, which confused her. In a flash, she darted past the motionless Han, bouncing the ball near her rival and charging for the basket. The crowd gasped in awe. It was Tang's legendary lightning zigzag. A smug look crossed her face, thinking it was an easy win. But then she realized the ball was no longer there. She spun around, completely baffled. When had her rival even moved to intercept it? No need to switch between offense and defense, Han said confidently. She threw the ball back, urging her to keep trying. With a cruel smile, the brunette promised. I'll play with you until you can no longer stand. The crowd roared for Wu-Tang. The blonde admitted she was careless, vowing to get serious now. She moved like a thunderbolt, leaving Han far behind. The audience was thrilled. This was even faster than before. She leaped toward the basket, but a blur appeared beside her. Yang was shocked as her rival jumped higher, blocking the shot. Han stole the ball again. The blonde was stunned, unable to comprehend how. The two have landed on the court floor. The brunette taunts, asking if her rival wants to try again. Burning with rage, Wu-Tang demands another round. She dribbles carefully while Han stands motionless. The girl thinks that her opponent was never this strong, questioning if this was the real Han Ziyin. But she quickly refocuses, knowing she needs a strategy. The blonde bends her knees, and her enemy expects a shot. Han jumps to block the throw, giving Wu-Tang the perfect chance to push forward. Fooling the brunette, she smirks that her rival was naive. Han rushes to catch her as the blonde leaps for a score. The brunette never gives up, charging at full speed and jumping to intercept. She smacks the ball, knocking Wu-Tang down. The crowd is stunned by the block, murmuring that the blonde must be hurt. Han speaks with arrogance, telling her rival to accept defeat because she is no match. Standing up, the blonde refuses to admit she lost. But her opponent insists the outcome will be the same. She claimed their difference was power, ordering her to give up. Enraged, Wu-Tang hurls the ball past the brunette. Han spins around, barely having time to see the blonde rush past her. The ball hits the rim, and the girl sees Tang's strategy. She reaches the blonde, but her rival shoves her away. The brunette steps on a nail that had fallen. She runs to defend, but knows she's at a disadvantage against a child of destiny. Wu-Tang jumps, soaring far above the attempted block. Furiously, she yells for her rival to get out of the way. Her powers unconsciously flare as she slams the ball home. Han crashes to the ground, struck by flying glass shards. The crowd erupts at the sudden chaos. The blonde stood over the shattered backboard and her fallen rival. Wu-Tang stumbled back, conceding her utter defeat. A few guys rush to the brunette's side, insisting on the infirmary. But she waves them off, claiming they're just scrapes. Just then, blood begins to trickle down. The boys panic, begging her to get treated. If she refuses, they threaten. They're calling an ambulance right now. Han recalls the humiliation of her broken ribs. Fine, she'll go. The crowd murmured, amazed she could even stand. A group of boys discovers Lin Mo eating by himself. They quickly fill him in on the dramatic court battle. One suggests he should visit Han in the infirmary, but he flatly refuses. They explode, yelling this was his fault and he needed to own it. But his chilling glare instantly silences them. They nervously backed off, saying they'd done their part. Now, the choice was his. Lin Mo grumbled, torn on whether he should even go. Suddenly, the infirmary door swings open. The doctor spots him and lets him come inside. He enters reluctantly. Since he's here, he might as well talk. He asks if she's okay. But his words trail off as he stares. She turns, flustered, her shirt completely open. A red-faced Han looks right back at him. She apologizes for the Yuang misunderstanding, but hated how it made him look so weak. Her words instantly ticked him off. He insists she was a worthy opponent, and tells her not to act like those other girls. Han smirks. You mean the girls after your body? Lin Mo keeps his perfect poker face. She jokes she should have snapped a picture. Pulling glass from her leg. She says she's different. But his face was beet red. He couldn't control his blush or his racing heart. Not with her sitting there, half-dressed. He notices her wince while removing the glass. Are you just pretending to be tough? He asks. A vein pops on her forehead as she grits out. No,
He just points out her terrible bandaging skills, saying the wound is only getting worse.
Claiming some medical knowledge, he offered to help.
Han tried to shoo him away, but he was already inspecting the wounds. He began removing splinters, firmly telling her to stay still. A painful tremor ran through her as he gently removed the sharp fragments.
Lin Mo noted the embedded glass. He would remove it, disinfect it, and wrap it to prevent any scars. Hours seemed to pass before he finished. It was skilled first aid, but nothing more. "All right, your back and rear are next," he announced. Han's eyes went wide, but he simply asked if the pain had magically vanished. Mortified, she insisted she could handle it on her own. He flatly told her that was impossible, and not to worry, he was there to help. She insisted she could do it. "Show my rear to a boy never then." Lin Mo's next words left her speechless. "Take off your clothes." She froze, barely wearing anything as it was. A suspicious thought bloomed in her mind as she blushed and questioned his true motives. He bluntly assured her she wasn't his type. He was only interested in fixing her injuries. "It's just a small scratch," she argued. His tone turned cold. "Stop wasting my time," he ordered. "Turn around." To him, she was a bratty kid refusing her medicine. He even lectured her for acting so childishly despite her age.
A deep blush crept up her neck. It wasn't that she then ordered him to turn around before she disrobed.
The young man sighed, reluctantly turning his back to her. Han shrieked, "Don't you dare peek!" But he just scoffed, claiming he had zero interest. Just as she announced she was ready, Lin Mo casually closed the curtains, sparking her outrage. He deadpanned that students were passing by and might get a free show. He then told her to lie face down and stop letting her imagination run wild. Han complied, declaring herself prepared. Her back, however, was still studded with tiny glass shards. He snapped on his gloves, announcing the start. Seeing her position, he internally sighed about the complete lack of shame in this world. As Lin Mo began plucking out the fragments, she marveled at his skill. He wasn't just a gaming god, but a first aid master too. Even a demonic sorceress couldn't be this skilled and kind-hearted. He carefully removed each sliver, placing them aside. Next came the disinfectant and fresh bandages. Luckily, her cultivator's body could handle it. A normal person would have been bedridden for a whole month. As dusk settles, he finishes the bandages, only to find his patient fast asleep. Annoyed, he drapes his blazer over her. But as he leaves, a voice stops him, calling him toy. The gray-haired woman says it's late and offers him a ride home. They face off on the empty street. Her eyes are hollow as she proposes a little game of cat and mouse. The rules were simple. He's the mouse, and he had better run for his life. Yang would be the cat, and when she found him, she would carve him into pieces to send to Wu-Tang. That way, the blonde could look forward to getting a new piece of Lin Mo every day. With a serene smile, she wonders how long his escape will last. She grips his shoulder, whispering, "Run! The hunt begins tonight." As he walks off, she tells him not to stress. Watching him go, she vows Wu-Tang will pay. Lin Mo's face remains a mask of indifference. He silently cursed this immortal world, a prison with no escape. He knew that ordinary people like Yang Tianu weren't a threat. Until you crossed them, then their revenge never ends. Hiding his identity in this chaotic world was tough. He glances at a clothing store, an idea forming. A salesman greets him, but he remembers Yang's touch and knows he must change his clothes. The woman had placed a tracking mark on him. Erasing it would reveal his power, so he summons his fox, Chen.
The little fox appears instantly. Lin Mo's order is simple. Take this shirt and ditch it as far away as possible.
He hopes this is just a sick game, because if she's serious, he will annihilate her. Back in the school infirmary, Han awakens, clutching the boy's jacket. A veteran of countless wars, and she just fell asleep in front of some kid unthinkable.
A blush creeps onto her cheeks. Now she owes him yet another favor. Wu-Tang's voice echoes in her head.
She knows he likes good food, so maybe dinner. She immediately starts researching how to ask a boy out. The embarrassment hits her. The great demon queen? Indebted to a mere teenager. His jacket catches her eye. It has a nice scent. Mortified, Han dives onto the bed.
She groans at this world's absurd rules. Dating seemed more complex than demon realm politics.
Determined, she summons a perfect copy of herself. The clone's mission practice inviting him out. The copy understands but points out the obvious. They have no restaurant, time, or place confirmed. Han tells the clone to call him. The copy retorts, "Why do I have to do it?" Han stammers that he saw her unclothed and healed her. It would be too indecent for her to call. Getting the picture, the clone immediately dials, shocking the real Han with her boldness.
Han trembles as her clone speaks, coldly stating she dislikes owing favors and wants to pay for dinner. The real Han despairs. Han's heart soars when she hears the clone arrange to meet after class. Finally, the copy announces, "He accepted." Han literally jumps for joy. Her family scolds her for shouting so late. Composing herself, she grabs the phone to make reservations. She takes a deep breath. Her entire aura shifts into one of pure menace as she makes the call. The clone watches in shock as Han commands Shen to book a restaurant, demanding the best chef and ingredients for her important guest. When asked what quality of food she wants, Han's reply is instant and firm, the absolute best.
She demands that ingredients be displayed and that the chef cook live, serving the dishes personally. She wants to test the clan's top chef. Shen swears he will deliver. The call ends, and she slumps. All right, she tells her clone. Time to rehearse. On the other end, Shen is asked if he's sure about the clan's best chef. He confirms it's a direct order from the Demon Queen. The aide warns that high-level cooks are arrogant and will complain about the job. But Shen is firm. This is the Demon Queen's will, and they have no right to question it. He's relieved to succeed after his beauty contest failure, wondering why she's making such a fuss over one dinner. Han collapses onto the couch, completely exhausted. She rehearsed her dinner conversation all night. Her clone tried to comfort her, saying practice prevents failure. How could she not worry? This was hardly a simple meal. At lunch, Yutong sat alone, bored and nibbling on a snack. The blonde fumed. She'd lost her temper and the bet with Han. She grumbled about her rotten luck, when a call interrupted her, which she answered sourly.
Sarcastically, she declared Wu-Tang dead and to please burn some incense for her.
But the voice on the line was frantic. Big shots from the Demon Clan were gathering in the city. The girl demanded to know what was happening and if her grandmother knew. The line was silent. The blonde declared if her grandma couldn't return, she'd handle this herself. Yuten scowled, first the Emperor, then the Demon Queen, and now the whole clan was a headache. Suddenly, she saw Han. She stopped her, asking where Lin Mo was. But the brunette blew past her. Wu-Tang scoffed, telling her to seize the chance for lunch with the guy.
With a dark aura, her rival said Lin Mo wouldn't play along and arouse suspicion.
The blonde just laughed, saying she'd brought this on herself, irking Han. Then, she revealed she had dinner plans with him, leaving Wu-Tang fuming in her wake. After class, it was time to investigate. Through her earpiece, she got intel from base. The Demon Clan had booked an entire hotel. Worse, her classmates Han and Lin Mo had been spotted entering. But since then, there was nothing. Determined, she revved her motorcycle and sped off. Meanwhile, Lin Mo and Han were dining alone in the vast restaurant. The boy savored the food as the girl happily cut his steak for him, offering him a piece. Lin Mo was impressed. She was so polite and well-mannered. He sighed, wishing he didn't have to hide his identity. He could have taken her as a disciple. Blushing, Han felt proud. Her all-night etiquette cram session had totally paid off. In the kitchen, the Demon Master noted that the girl was their supposed queen. The Queen of Poisons gave a chilling warning: avoid eye contact or face certain death. The Ghost Division leader praised her for ensnaring Lin Mo, which would neutralize their target. The Master ordered them to stop gossiping. If dinner went wrong, heads would roll. Just then, Yang kicked the door in. Spotting the boy, she called him Little Mouse. The girl's patience was wearing dangerously thin. Just then, a hand landed on the intruder's shoulder. The manager's voice was low and threatening. What do you think you're doing here? The woman's eyes widened in terror. It was the division leader, her confidence shattered. Seeing the Demon Clan's top brass all gathered, wielding a giant cleaver, the man declared they were closed and told her to get lost. Shaking, Yang stammered an apology for being in the wrong place. With a swift kick, she was promptly shown the door. A voice echoed in her mind. Don't you dare run! Wait. Just then, Wu-Tang came sprinting down the corridor. Seeing the girl on her knees, she demanded to know where Lin Mo was. The terrified girl whimpered that they were all inside, confusing the blonde. The chief quickly turned to Han, promising no more disturbances. Soon after, Wu-Tang burst into the hall, frantically searching for the young man. But her attention was snagged by the chief's menacing aura. Lost too? He asked, his voice dripping with intimidation. That night, a taxi tore through the city streets. In the back, Wu-Tang's grandmother, the major, urged the driver to speed up. Her mind raced. If the intel was accurate, and the Demon Clan's elite were all present, not even she could take them on alone. But since Wu-Tang and Yang had charged in blindly, she had no choice but to negotiate. The area seemed oddly unguarded, until she saw it. There, in a corner, knelt her granddaughter and Yang in absolute shame.
What is the meaning of this? The major hissed. Their foolishness was a disgrace to all cultivators.
Hongling's hands began to glow with power.
I have to investigate this myself, she declared. Wu-Tang stared, stunned by her grandmother's true form.
Again, the chief tried to apologize to Han for the chaos. But as the major stepped inside, the Demon Queen's patience finally snapped. The chief tried to claim she was lost, his mind racing. Why was the major of all people here? Feeling Han's piercing gaze, he attempted to guide Hongling to another room. This hall is reserved, he explained, praying she'd take the hint. But she just asked, why the long face, leaving him utterly desperate? She simply arched a single, questioning eyebrow. She knew she couldn't reveal her true identity. But surely they knew Lin Mo was the legendary pure Yang body. The major's eyes locked onto the young man, her real target. He was always at the center of every major incident. It was far too suspicious how he always escaped unharmed. Unless he was the immortal Emperor Reborn. The last time they met, the Demon Queen had shattered her sword in two. She kept one half, the Emperor refined the other. Now, the fragment was being drawn to its true master. She gasped as the fragment suddenly shot from her grasp. The major wondered if it had just vanished. But no, the shards flew directly toward Lin Mo.
Her theory solidified. Lin Mo really was the emperor. He shot her a look, a silent and urgent warning.
As he did, a dark aura flared around him. Its immense pressure confirmed all her suspicions. Later, the major was confined to reflect on her actions. The blonde protested frantically. How can you leave Lin Mo in there alone? But her grandmother's sharp command was simple silence. She ordered Yutong to listen carefully, forbidding her from even getting close to the young man.
As for Yang, she was not confined, but branded a disgrace to the Tianxi. With that, the major departed.
Yang sneered that Lin Mo was fated to lose Yutong. What she did to him now was none of her concern. The blonde shot back. And you think you're worthy of him?
With a wicked smile, the girl said victory was easy. And that's exactly why I'm going to destroy him.
She taunted Yutong, promising to kill him. By the time you're free, it will be the 7th day of his passing. Yutong panicked, fumbling for her phone and cursing. But of course, the signal in this dead zone was garbage. With great effort, she sent a frantic message. Lin Mo is in danger, Han. Please save him from Yang Tianu. Upon receiving the blonde's message,
Han's fury exploded, crushing the phone in her bare hands. Meanwhile, Yang arrived at Lin Mo's home, thinking, prepare to die.
But suddenly, she felt a chilling dread. A murderous aura completely overwhelmed her. In a flash, Yang teleported away. A second slower and I'd be dead, she thought, terrified. Whose power is this?
She prided herself on her unmatched speed, faster than even the major. Yet tears streamed down her face. Even at top speed, she couldn't escape the pressure.
Glancing back, she wondered if it had lessened. She reached a forest, thinking she was finally safe. A voice offered her water. Yang, parched, gratefully accepted. But as she looked up, terror seized her. It was Han, her eyes glowing red with a threatening aura. Han mocked her, pointing out the girl was so scared she'd wet herself, then lifted her by the neck. Desperate, Yang choked out that she was the sole heir of Master Yang Tianxi's sect.
Han's grip tightened. I understand. Then your master will have to produce a second heir.